Hey, good afternoon, good morning, and I guess good evening, depending on where you're at on the globe today. So we've got a special show. We've done one of these before with Howard, where we hang out and chat and sell some original artwork that he's done specially for the show today. But before we get started with the show, I figured I should go over the ground rules. For those of you who are familiar with the shows that we've done with Third Eye Comics before, you're very familiar with these. But let me throw a few slides your way to give you an understanding of how the art sale portion of today's show will go. So first up, we wanted to let you know that everything is going to happen as far as the claims go via email today. The emails will be sent to Nicole@thirdeyecomics.com so that when we show you a lot, it'll have the lot number on it. We want you to send an email to Nicole with a subject of Chaykin art sale. And in the body of the email, please include the lot number and your name. And first person to email Nicole will be the recipient who can purchase the artwork. Nicole will email that person back immediately. If you don't hear back from Nicole, you'll know that you did not get you didn't get the artwork that we're showing. So we'll kind of pace ourselves so we don't like run from one lot to another, so that you know that you did not get the art. And of course, we will let you know that the artwork has been claimed when Nicole texts me and lets me know that those artworks are purchased. So let's see what else we got here. Next, I guess I should let you know, of course, is all fulfillment is handled by Third Eye. Third Eye has all the artwork in hand right now. And so when payments are made after the show, Nicole will send you an invoice via PayPal. And there are some other alternatives they got, but PayPal is the primary way that they like to take care of that. Once the payment is made, which we expect to be done within 48 hours, we appreciate your timeliness to getting those payments in. The artwork will be shipped out pronto. So like I said, the artwork's already in hand. So payments made early, you know that the art will be in the mail by next Monday or Tuesday, and you'll have it before the end of next week. And I should also let you know that the artwork prices that we show you today do not include shipping and handling. And domestic shipping is $20 and international shipping is a flat $50. So there you have it. Very, very simple rules to follow. And I see lots of people are in the chat already, so welcome. It's Saturday afternoon shows are not normal here, but I see Nick Barucci and several other folks are here. Always good to have all of you here. So I don't want to leave Howard in the green room any longer. He's had a long day already. Welcome. Welcome to the show, Howard.
I start this day by Bill telling me I look unkempt. My day is already elevated. How lovely is this?
Right, right. Hey, you know what? Like you, I tell it like it is. I don't have a filter. I don't hold anything back, because at the end of the day, I'm so naive. Things just kind of slip out every now and again. So,
well, the reality is, I have Tourette's. Tourette's is for pussies, and again, the great thing about having no filter is you don't have to remember the lie that you told the night before. It's really good. Of course, it doesn't make friends. People will learn to hate you. But the fact is, we are also judged by those who loathe us as well as we are by those who love us.
Man. Well, it's a good way to be, though, Howard. I mean, everybody knows where you stand. I think I don't think there's anybody that said everyone that I've ever spoken to about you, they have an immense amount of respect for you, but at the same time, there's always that they kind of get that grimace on their face when they talk about you. It's just, I think it's just, but that's okay, right? I mean,
look, comic books is a business packed with nice people who aren't very good. And most comic book fans, and I speak as myself, because I'm an old man, but when I start, I'm working on the 3rd volume of Hey Kids Comics, which is about fandom. And one of the things I'm doing is there are a number of parts of my story that show up in this. And the fact is that comic book fans, and I speak for myself when I was a little boy as well, tend to misidentify nice as good. And, people are really nice. So are con men. They're really good at convincing you, to part with your dough. And I'm not the most lovable figure you'll ever see in the world. I'm situationally kind. I'm always kind to children, because they're undeveloped and they deserve to be treated with respect and dignity until they get into short trouble, and then they get locked in a closet. I have grandchildren. They're old now. They're mature, so they're like they're normal people now. They treat me with utter indifference. But I'm dependable. The thing about comic book fandom is they they assume that because I'm difficult in many ways that I'm difficult to work with, and that's not the case. I mean, people will tell you that I'm a dream to work with, because when I hire onto a job, they get exactly what I promised when I promised it. None of that repent harlequin bullshit. So that's the deal.
So meeting deadlines is always important, right? I mean, I think that's one of the biggest complaints from comic fans is delays on books and those sorts of things. So it's good to know that you are a dependable person, and I guess you keep to your promises to the publishers that you work with.
I mean, a lot of it is based on terror being identified as an imposter, but also I think it's part of the equation we take. When I was doing the Marvel seminars in the mid-aughts. The first day of those 3-day events, and they were cruel, was spent on beating the hobbyism out of young talent. We would sit there with 5 guys that Marvel had under contract that were not, from their perspective, delivering to their expectations and needs, whatever those needs and expectations might be. I couldn't say. And the 3 days were broken up into one of professional aesthetics, and the first one was basically about, you're no longer drawing comics for fun on your mother's cutting board on the dining table while everybody else is asleep. Mm-hmm. You're not taking money for this. And whether you like it or not, you're a cog in a corporate wheel. And of course, this was like, how dare you say this to me? You of all people, you, Mr. Big Mouth. But the reality is, when I work for Marvel or DC, I am part of that cogged wheel. I'm that guy. I'm serving a train that is, being endlessly run through the tunnel of enthusiasts, which sounds vulgar and disgusting, but it's true. And your job is to maintain the train until the next guy picks up the car. That's your job. If you don't want to do that, that's cool. Go be somewhere else. But one of the reasons why that comics writers are the alpha and comics artists are no longer that alpha guy in a business that is so visual is that comics writers are smarter than comics artists. They know they're not putting one over on the man by behaving like idiots. Whereas comic artists have this wild and crazy guy sensibility that gets in the way of actually being taken seriously as a working professional. And it's important for us as guys who do both. I mean, I do both, mm-hmm. to recognize the fact that meeting a time deadline is part of the equation. It's got to be beautiful, and it's got to be on Tuesday. And that's sort of the way it is. I mean, I have little or no respect for people who don't make deadlines. They're behaving like amateurs, and they're feeding into the publisher's sensibility of us as being unworthy of respect. And I think that's important.
I mean, you're not the first person I've heard say that comics writers are taken more seriously today than the artists. I mean, do you feel that it was always that way, or was there a turning point in the industry where that actually happened?
Well, I believe there are 4 reasons. One, I think that the audience, and I've taken heat for this when I said this, I was quoted on this. Someone compared me very favorably to someone who was a loathsome moral cripple of the previous generation. I think the critical reading of the audiences has been diminished dramatically. I don't think people read with the same level of critical foresight that they did once. I think the artists have a tendency to be somewhat emotionally immature and allow the writers to be powerful. I also think the management class, the people who buy IP, can identify writing as a skill, whereas they don't really understand how much of the writing of comics is done by the artist. The artist is not an illustrator, but rather a graphic designer in the service of narrative. And I also think the publishers have a great deal invested in not letting happen to them what happened to them in the 90s when the guys bolted from Marvel and formed Image. And the companies recognize the fact that writers are more transient. They move through the business and go elsewhere. Comics have become a profoundly IP-based franchise. Many writers approach comic book companies as a mean to get their work out there as writers and move on to television or movies. Artists have nowhere to go. They really don't. They're comic book men. And the publisher is going to always diminish the artist in the name of the writer, because the writer is easily replaced, but the artist is stuck. I've aged out of both Marvel and DC over the past decade. They don't want my work or anything like that. And at first I was upset. Then I realized, hey, fuck them. I don't really care. I
mean,
really
did they tell you that, or did you just stop getting work, or how
no,
did
no.
they?
I was told in December that I have work in February, and I'm still waiting. It's been 10 years. But I don't solicit work. I'm not calling anybody up saying I need a job, because frankly, I don't want a job. I realize that I'm not a perfect fit. I'm a journeyman in the sense of what my skill set is. I do all sorts of stuff. I'm not a guy who does great superhero comic books. I'm not that interested in them. I was as a kid. I lived and breathed them. But my skill set does not lend itself to that sort of material. And my skill set is more about characters acting in natural ways, as opposed to shit coming out of their eyes like with laser beams and stuff, And when I wrote and drew my own stuff for the superhero comic book stuff, I was always chastised by my editors for not using their powers enough, which, they're right. That's what the reader's there for. They want to see shit come out of people's eyes and stuff, And I'm not that guy. I prefer, Jeffrey O'Brien was a poet and a critic in a book called Hard Boiled America, which is about the imagery of paperbacks. Had this wonderful line. It's a paraphrase. And he said that crime fiction is just as fantastical as science fiction, but it is based on an observed reality. And that observed reality is the thing that made me not interested in crime fiction when I was a little boy. All I wanted was space opera. I loved space opera. And basically superhero comic books are space opera with earthbound characters. They really are. They're no more involved than that. And that observed reality is exactly what it is about material that appeals to me now. That capacity to identify with characters in real ways without the metaphor of superheroes or monsters, monsters representing disease, this social displacement. I have no interest in horror or any interest in science fiction as an adult. I just don't. It feels, I mentioned yesterday that the third season of For All Mankind is up, and it's the closest I come to cheating on reality with science fiction. Because it's a wish dream. I would have wished that the space program would have been evolved in the way that Ronald Moore's depicted it. It's really swell. But I like stories about people with problems that I can identify, that have a scale that I can identify. But it remains fantastical. I don't deny that. I mean, I'm making this shit up as I go along. But that's where it's at. I mean, I don't have value with the skill set that I've got to make Marvel or DC come after me with a hammer and tong. Despite the fact that I feel my skill set's still in good shape, it's still not in the service of material that the audience cares about. I know how good.
They're not writing that kind of material, or publishing that kind of material right now. So
I've spent the past couple of years listening on social media, all these people losing their minds and minds being blown by the various television and film adaptations of superhero comic books. And when I've watched them, I'm just like, this is like Sky King. This is like nothing. What? I mean, when I saw the Batman movie, the new picture, I thought it was perfectly sturdy. It was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. I was astonished at the level of passion that was achieved by people who hated it so much and loved it so much. I didn't see there was anything to get all that worked up about. There was nothing there that really excited me. I mean, it was fine. I mean, I was extremely entertained. It went on for too long, of course, but it was fine. I love the fact that they hired Colin Farrell to play Richard Kind. And, it was fine. I thought technologically it was astonishing. And, I've never seen Robert Pattinson in anything before. So I didn't have any of the prejudices that people had about Twilight. Right. I'm not the audience of Twilight. This is a shock to you. But I didn't understand the passion that it generated. That really was the most complex part of the whole situation.
No, I agree. I have to say I didn't watch the whole movie because I saw it on TV and I got about halfway through and I fell asleep and I haven't gone back to it. But I didn't see what the whole issue, the angst was about it as well. Yeah, it was. I was entertained up until I fell asleep and I haven't gotten back to it. But yeah. That's fandom, right? I mean, I had
an experience with the second Star Wars movie. That's the last one I saw. 45 minutes of it. That's it.
Only the second? That's how far you got through?
It was the second or third, I forget which, and I saw it. It was on a VHS tape. That's how long ago. And the phone rang, and I answered the phone. And I never went back to the movie. So I'm assuming we won. We won that one.
Yeah, the good guys did win that one.
Yeah, right. But they keep slipping back into fascism every 20 minutes. They're just, it's like America.
That's right. Well, these are universal stories, right? I mean,
No,
you don't think this would fall into anything that Carl Jung would have thought? As far as
they're sexless, soulless children's stories, acted out by grown men who are looking for a really big paycheck.
All right. So
you can disagree with me. I don't really care.
I'm not. No, well, how can I disagree with you, Howard? But we've been getting some questions from the audience, and I'll get to those too. So I've been starring them so I don't forget. And I don't know if I'm sure I didn't tell you to put the if you see that little button on the right hand side to set it to the comments tab, so you can see people making comments throughout.
It's just private. Should I put in comment? I'll.
Yeah, then you can see all
the. Oh my God! All these people.
Yeah, what are they doing here?
It started at the very beginning, which, according to Richard Rogers and Oscar Hammerstein, is a very good place to start.
I saw somebody post something. I was going to offhandedly ask you: has anyone ever started, or how about passed you in the Marvel or DC halls, or really any halls anywhere, and actually said, "What's Chaykin to you?" And
never, except every fucking day.
I saw that in the chat, and I was like, "All right, I have to do that." Of course, I thought it the first time, but you know what? I was wise not to mention it.
Yeah, you wisdom flows from you, despite the fact that your geographical move. Wisdom flows.
I know. I had a feeling.
They hate me. Every one of these people hates me. Look at them. They're all wishing each other a good day. They're saying happy things to each other. There's Nick Barucci using a lot of exclamation points. Excitement stuff. Okay. There's a lot of people here. Why aren't you come on. Why aren't you in synagogue, you Jews? What's going on?
They're not all practicing properly. But
I'm so good I don't have to practice.
so
why are there 70 watching, only 25 likes? What the? Can I really? Henry Jaramek has a question.
Yes, he did. Yeah, I actually highlighted that one, so we can.
That's a good question.
Yeah, here you go. It's for you.
Should I answer that question?
Yeah, you designed Tarna for the heavy metal movie.
No, I did not design the character. The character was designed by Chris Achilleos.
Right, that's what I thought too. I thought Achilleos.
But I did the artwork for the characters in that sequence because they couldn't find any. One of the things about I spent a week at one of the hotels at the top of Universal because they'd spent 2 months trying to get their people on staff to come up with images, and they just sucked. They were terrible. And they brought me out. They paid me next to nothing. I had a great time. While I was here, I also did freelance for A&M Records. I did some work on a Charlie Daniels, Johnny Cash album. Did some work for the Police, not those to be defunded, but the band with Sting. And I did everything I needed to get done for the heavy metal guys by noon, because the expectations were that it was taking me. It was like grunt labor, and it was like, this is some easy shit to do. Because the demands they made of me were the kind of demands that I took seriously as a comic book man. They wanted a guy who could do a kind of a riff on what Mobius was doing. And that's what I did. I also ended up storyboarding the last 3 minutes of the movie. And I designed the girl character from the Harry Canyon sequence that Juan Jimenez did. Because they couldn't get Juan to see what they were looking for. There was just a language barrier and an issue. Right. The opportunity to work in the world of Juan Jimenez was a great gift because Juan was just an absolutely great guy, a phenomenal talent, and a really stand-up guy. I mean, there's a great photograph floating around of me and him and a bunch of other, Euro cartoonists hanging around getting fucked up in front of a cafe in Lucca, which was really swell.
You love it when that one pops up in your timeline?
Every so often. I'm young. I'm adorable.
I love Juan's work, though. I mean, his work was astounding.
He was a great guy, just an absolutely stand-up guy. And I did a piece for the tribute book featuring Harry Canyon and that girl, and just his work, everything he's done, the work he did with Yorovsky, it's really swell. It's really swell. And I see there's. I don't want to talk to something. I'm looking at a Star Wars comment from someone who's named 111.
I'm only here for the Star Wars talk from Howard.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, but I was smart not to ask about Star
Well,
Wars the first time.
that's because that's a cloaking identity for someone who needs to work on his shame issues. One of my favorite people in the world. Thanks, Jim Martin. That's very kind of you to say. It's very kind of you. I might add, in regard to that introduction, I took great heat from the pimp who's basically working Woody's memory for being as forthright and honest as I was. And I say like the difference is I knew him personally and worked for him. You're just a pimp. So I'm as ever a beloved figure, always making friends wherever I go. It's what I do.
No, I didn't see that book. So I mean, tell me a little bit about Wally and why he.
Well, first of all, it's Wallace or Woody, and Woody was a difficult and complex guy, who, in my opinion, expected. Whenever I hear that Jack Kirby quote, comics will break your heart, kid. The second sentence is, and I expected to be treated differently from everybody because I'm so fucking special. Woody had that sensibility. I think Woody believed that he was entitled to special treatment. He was shocked to find that he was just grist for the mill like everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one of the differences between that generation and mine is that we went in going with no expectations of any other treatment than we got. And most of those guys, the really good guys of my father's generation, really had the delusional belief that they were bringing something special. And they were, but that specialness was not identified as having any real value by the powers that be, who were there to basically, squeeze them dry for money and then kick them to the curb. That's where it's at. As I said in the introduction, I wanted to grow up to be Gil Kane, but I was terrified that I'd end up being like Wallace Wood. And, I don't look at Gil's work at all, but he's the single most important influence in my life from a male perspective in the comic book business. I look at Woody's work almost every day. Mm-hmm. The influence is more aesthetic than specific. It's kind of like, there are any number of guys out there who think being influenced by a guy like Alex Soth is drawing like Alex Soth, and that's not the case. What Alex was doing was introducing a series of design elements that had never been seen in comics before. And Woody was the antithesis of that. Woody was just, everything was there. I've said more than once that when I read Jim Thompson's stuff, when I read crime fiction of the early 50s, I see it through the visual scrim of Woody's interpretation of the sort of dilapidated Midwestern American city. The liberal hysteria comics that he did at Shock Suspense is a perfect illustration of what I'm talking about. And I love his work so much. He was a difficult guy, but on the other hand, working for him when I was a kid, I was barely 20. I got introduced to Jack Abel, who was renting space. And Jack, although not one of the great artists of that generation, was one of the best guys I've ever known. And I realized within 20 minutes of showing up there that he spent most of his day fucking with the other guy who rented space. And within a day of that, he realized that he had an accomplice in me in that. So I became his henchman. And we were just terrible together. I was just, but I've always been that way. I had the same relationship with Joe Jusko, for example. Joe and I are perfectly, pleasant, amiable men. We put us together and it's like there's something combustible. We're like the Katzenjammer adults. We are the worst people alive when we're together. We make other people's lives a living hell and get away with it because it's funny.
Well,
ask Australia to tell you this,
I had dinner with Jim Shooter about like 3 or 4 weeks ago, and he mentioned how he actually mentioned a story about you and Jack when Jack had his heart attack, I believe, and how they couldn't figure out what they were in the room, they were like they couldn't talk to him, and then you walked in and you knew exactly how to get Jack alert and whatnot. So I felt like I wanted to ask you about Jack just because by that conversation, it made me think that you and Jack had a pretty interesting relationship for you to,
my goal in life when I was in my mid-20s was to make Jack laugh so hard that shit would come out of his nose, or if we were on a subway train, he would fall down and hurt himself.
Were you successful?
And it worked at least twice. I did this. I would spring shit on him, not pranking. I loathe pranks. Pranking is so that passive aggressive can be bullies too. Rather, just comedy, just, buttons pushed, I would have lunch with him at least once a week, along with a bunch of other guys from continuity. I didn't work in continuity. I hung around continuity to basically wait for the rush hour to be over to take a train home, and frequently with Jack. And getting Jack to laugh was easy because he was a cheap audience. He was, he was available for comedy, but he had never met a younger guy who had as old a head as I did, who knew all the shit that made him laugh. It was just a great relationship. Terry Austin did the Jack Abel shit list, which was a long vertical strip that was taped to his door, and it had a drawing of Jack at the top, and my name was inked at the top permanently. There was no change. Up on the shit list. It was the best. He's just a great guy. Just one of the best people I know. And 111, there will be a reckoning. Just watch it. I'm looking at you. I know where you live. I really do.
So all right, then I guess we can. Rich Cirillo had asked about any of your continuity stories from the 70s, but if you're only waiting for the train or whatnot, then I assume.
No, I never worked there. I mean, yeah. I hung around. I did terrible things to people, and I left.
Why did they keep letting you in the door then?
Because I'm fun. I mean, I'm short. I'm not a very big person. I've
never met you in person, so I had no idea.
I say I'm 5'9", but that's a lie. I'm a little guy, and I'm sort of deceptive in my harmlessness, and I'm just, I kind of wheedle my way in, I'm good. And I like a good laugh. I'm a collegial fella. One of the things I talk about when I go to conventions is that I do my show. I'm there and I'm available. I regard the convention as my client, and the people who go to conventions as my client's customers. And then I'm engaged, and I'm there. But when that bell ends, when the show is over, I'm out. And that's the time for colleagues. I'm looking forward to hitting a couple of shows. I'm going to be at a show in New Jersey in about a month, and I'm looking forward to seeing Walter and Wheezy, Graham Nolan, just a couple of cats. I'm Graham's liberal friend. So we have to keep that maintained. And the fact is that those evenings are spent in talking shit and talking shop. Mm-hmm. That's where it's at. I had dinner on Saturday night in Pittsburgh last week with Ed Piskor, who is this young, incredibly vital cartoonist. I love his work. I love him. We had a great time. And I'll do the same with Baltimore. The Baltimore show, the night before the Baltimore show, Dean Haspel and I always hosted dinner with a bunch of people who were there before the show. And again, it's shit talk and shop talk. Catching up and just reminding each other that, we're still here because we work alone, Mm-hmm. And that's my story.
So was the Pittsburgh show your first in-person show since the pandemic, or how many shows have you gotten out to?
No, I'm an idiot. I've been out there. Yeah. I've been in Spain, I was in Spain. I did this year. I was in Rhode Island in February. I did Kansas City about a month ago. I was in Seattle and Portland late last year. I had, Kansas City was dynamite. I had a great time. Pittsburgh was a great show. Pittsburgh's a nice town. It looks like the world's largest model train layout. And it does.
Yeah, I live near there, so
yeah, you know what I'm talking about.
I should have went there. Well, I forgot you were going to be there.
Your life would have been transformed. I can promise you this without a moment's hesitation. Because I'm a transformative figure. Just that's where it's at. Is Howard coming to Heroes? No, he's not. Howard is not going to Heroes because he's not on Shelton's list for some reason. And then Ron, you're late, and there'll be a test, a pop quiz. Watch it, pal.
Oh man, yeah. Sorry, Ron. Yeah, I tried.
And Rich Cirillo was telling us that Neil told him about a bunch of pranks that were pulled on Rubenstein in continuity by the tenants, and yes, definitely not for public consumption.
Yeah, I've heard
no
some
reason
of
to
those
get
myself.
hurt feelings.
Yes. So Man, well, while we could hit a couple other questions here. Well, you know what? Before we hit any of the questions in the audience, there was somebody who sent me an email
Uh-oh.
with
Uh-oh.
a piece of your artwork in it, and it asked me a question at the first time we talked back in like January or whatever, and I totally
Yeah, one of
forgot.
those months.
So, but this is it's an interesting question. Well, or maybe it won't be. Just don't get mad. Let's see, what was it? I'm going to show you the image, and then I'll tell you the question that the owner of this artwork asked. So the question they asked was, I have what I thought was an original cover for a variant cover of, Superman Unchained, but it's slightly different from the published version.
Right.
And
I decided to redo it. I didn't like the first version.
So did you redo it? And well, because their follow up kind of to the question was, was this done followed up work in digitally done, or what was?
Oh no, I redid it completely.
So then what they have is kind of an unpublished version.
Yes.
Got it. Because that was his question. Was this the published version that was altered, or was this a?
No, I did two versions of it, and I'm looking at. I don't know quite what I was thinking. I just didn't. I decided to redo it. No idea why. I'm old and things slip. But yeah, I redid it. So 2 for the price of 1.
That's how it goes sometimes, right?
Does that help?
What's that?
Does that help your question?
I think it answers the question, right? Because again, he wasn't sure if there was. I guess probably there's no other published version out there, like on CAF. Somebody, so that you can see that there was a different version of it out there. So he wasn't sure. If
I don't quite recall why I adjusted it, because the first one looked okay to me now, but I don't know.
You don't think it was an editorial? It wasn't an editorial decision, right?
Mr. Musical Lucky's asking me about San Diego. No, I will never return to the San Diego Comic Book Convention. I don't like the way I'm treated there. They treat me as if I'm a nostalgia item, and fuck that.
We can't have that.
Like Stephen Sondheim says, I'm still here, although he's dead and I'm not.
Yeah, you can't say that anymore.
No.
Oh man, well,
let's made it to 91.
What's that?
You made it to 91.
Yeah.
So let's see.
I want to hit a couple of these other questions in the audience, since we're getting a lot more of them this time. So, Chuck,
Chuck, tough questions. All right, let's start at the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Okay. I am going to be. We're having the Dinner of Shame at Terrificon in Connecticut with JR in regard to Schmoogie and Bimbo. Like, get it together. The scripts are all done. It's completely written. The work is, in my opinion, some of the best stuff that John has done in years. It is astonishing looking. Just fucking great. Imagine if Jack Kirby, John Buscema, and Botero did a book together. It's volume. It's fantastic. It's great shit. So we're going to put some shame. We're going to put the Screws to John in July with some shame on that and see what goes there. Sunshine Patriots has been done for years, and I have no fucking clue why we can't get our shits together to get it out there. The answer is I don't know. Times Squared will probably be coming out in August. The issues with Times Square's delivery have been all on our side of the table. They have nothing to do with Image. It was not my fuck up, but since it's my people involved, I take full responsibility. Fucked up. Just an issue that will be resolved, but it's taking its time. And as for Hey Kids Volume 3, just before I came on to see Bill, I had just finished page 4 of issue 4 of the dialogue pass of the second volume of Hey Kids. And it's coming together, and I'm having a good time. That's the deal. There you go. Does that help, Chuck? I certainly hope so.
I think it does. And then Craig was asking, any chance we'll ever get a nice Cody Starbuck compilation?
Nah, not really, unless somebody wants to. I don't really care. My legacy has been so swamped and dashed by various circumstances over the past 6 or 7 years that I really don't know. It's not something that's really high on my list. I'm more interested in the works that I'm doing today. Mm-hmm. Because I'm not dead.
Well, you should definitely be doing what you want at this point, Howard.
That's one of the unexpected results of getting aged out at Marvel and DC is finding myself able to do whatever I damn well please. And I'm, one of the things people don't understand when I talk about how shitty my work was in the 70s It's not self-deprecation. It's actually self-aggrandizement, because what it comes down to is it says that I was then and now I'm not. You know, now I'm great. You know. But you know, it took me 10 years to get good enough not to be ashamed of the work I do, and the career that I'm 50 years in. You know, that's a long time, and you know, 52 when you think about it, when you consider the assistantship and all that stuff. So I'm my wife. When people ask my wife when I'm going to retire, the answer is always she'll know I'll be retired when she hears my head hit the desk and I don't scream. You know, I plan to die there. I mean, you can see over my shoulder my drawing table, and then right in front of me is my computer where I'm working on script. That's what I'm doing. You are in studio Chaykin right now, and if you look this, actually go this way, you can see my copy of Sundays with Walton Skizix, which remains one of my favorite comic strips ever.
You know, I was reviewing our last chat and I saw you had gross exaggerations on.
Love it so much.
Yeah, I've been meaning to pick that up. So
Milk Gross was just insane. It's just crazy ass shit. I tend to like a lot of work that has nothing to do with the work that I do. You know, that would include, you know, the Skizix stuff and Milt Gross and, you know, Cliff Sterrett's Polly and Her Pals.
Mm-hmm.
I love that work. You know, it's just wacky. You know, I mean, when my grandchildren were younger and I convinced them to read, they actually listened to me. The Calvin and Hobbes stuff was a really big part of that, and also Little Lulu. I got all the Little Lulus from Dark Horse and became a big hit with the granddaughters for about 2 weeks. It was good. Bill DeSimone says Midnight of the Soul is his favorite. Thanks, Bill. I'm very proud of that as well. It's one of those things that nobody noticed that I did it. It went down like a stone. Nobody saw this book, and I'm really proud of that work. It took a lot out of me, and it was, you know, it was a real opus. You know, I've you know, there's a paragraph or two for a sequel, which will never happen. When I finish the script on Hey Kids Volume 3 and I start artwork, what I'll be working on at that point is the rewrite of the script for the sequel to The Divided States of Hysteria, which is called Hostile Makeover, which is about the collapse of Western civilization, but nobody notices it. And again, that may never see print because, you know, the audience was so pissed off at me for the first one that I think I just burned a bridge in that regard. So, but, you know, I'm not out here to make friends. That's the deal. You know, one of the great things about The Divided States of Hysteria is that everybody hated it on both sides of the political aisle. You know, in the space of one day, I was delighted to be referred to as a demon in a human skin suit by a talent-free trans artist who resented the fact that I had the nerve to do a trans character. And in the same day, I was referred to a neutered butler as a neutered butler of the SJW movement. So fuck these people.
You can't make anybody happy, Howard. That's crazy.
No, I mean, look, the fact is, if you carve out a place that does not completely embrace either ideology, you know, if you don't completely buy into the lockstep presentation as progressives state it, you are perceived as a demon and, you know, irreparable. Whereas the right regards you as a potential ally. And I can honestly say they can both go fuck themselves with love.
Oh man, that's I don't know. It's very touching. But hey,
very touching. You're making my day, pal. That's great.
I'm gonna hit a few more questions here. You know,
well, I'm looking at Henry Jaramek says I loathe the Marvel method. I think it's lazy bullshit. I write a full script.
Well, I thought I could answer that one for you because you were just saying how you're working on script. I mean, you seem to be very script focused first. So yeah, Marvel method is not really something where you would be. I can't see you doing that at all.
No, it's awful. I hate it. It's driven me away from jobs. It's a lazy man's way of approaching material. It's if a writer I'm working with asks me what I feel like drawing, my interest in the project evaporates because what I feel like drawing is not what my job is. My job is to translate literary ideas into pictures with narrative value. And that feel like drawing stuff goes right back to the hobbyism that we were talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. It's not my hobby. It's my job. It's my career. And the reality is,
I mean, that's what's nice to see. Honestly, like when you're talking about going to cons, everything's about business, Howard, with you. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to, you want to treat people the way that they expect to be treated by you as a business person, and then but when you're not working, it's whatever you want it to be at that point. I think that's
those of you out there who've dealt with me in conventions know that when I'm at my table, I'm deeply engaged. I've said more than once, there's people lining up. It ain't a VD clinic, it's a bar. It's a saloon. Come up and chat and have a good time. And that's sort of where it's at.
So you like the crowd,
I do. I mean, I like. I mean, one of the things that have to be understood is that I believe that comics has, look, Star Wars has become a secular religion, and it's a secular religion that's evolved out of this calling we have in comics. Comics is a calling. It has more in common with the Jesuitry than, say, movie fandom or television fandom or rock and roll fandom. It's an inoculation at an early enough age that you can't escape it. I mean, I'm a comic book man. My wife has never read a comic book in her life, and she really has little to no understanding of this as an actual experience. And when I meet people at conventions, I have to remind them that despite the fact that I'm sitting on the other side of the table and I'm such an obnoxious guy, and I tend to be very condescending, scornful, and spiteful, I'm very much the product of the same experience that they are as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, I tell the story in the course of of this volume of Hey Kids, It Is Finished, of the character, the avatar of the character of me. I was introduced to comics when I was 4 years old, the summer of 1955. My cousins, one was 8 years old and one was 15 years old, they gave me a refrigerator box filled with comic books of all sorts. Because when you were a kid in the 50s, you read all comics. You read everything, because comics were just comics. Mm-hmm. And I climbed into the box, and I had that Soul on the Road to Damascus experience. I realized, A, somebody made these. B, I wanted to be one of those people. And C, I really wanted to be one of those people. And within a year, I had taught myself to read from those comics. I couldn't pronounce a lot of the words, but I could parse out their meaning by dint of their relationship with the pictures. My parents, who were morons, presumed that it was some sort of genetic anomaly, that I had some sort of, weird cranial quirk. No, it's comics, you fucking idiots. It's comics. That's where it came from. And, and I was inoculated from that point on. I mean, I love the medium. I love the form. I'm not interested particularly in the generalized content. So it's tough. I have to remind people that, just because I'm so, difficult and contrarian, I am one of them.
We've got several questions from Henry Jeremick, but I'll just pick one of them out of the set here. When you were at Upstart Studios, did you guys influence each other to some degree on the styles, panel layouts with Simonson, Starlin, Val, yourself? I mean,
I rarely looked at anybody else's work up there except for Walter's. I got in there earlier. I was in there a good 2 hours before anybody else showed up. By the time anybody got there, I was heads down. I have an embarrassingly complex relationship with discipline. I was not a disciplined artist in the 1970s. By the time the 80s came along, and I became an extremely disciplined talent. I mean, to this day, I can tell you where I'll be when on any job. I can predict within a day or two how far I'll be along it, and that comes out of time management and structure, which is really important for me because I'm not naturally talented. I'm not someone who can just expound visually with my hands. I have to really work at it. My work is extremely difficult to do because I'm not that good. To be as good as I have to be, I have to work really hard. And the writing comes easy because I'm flippant and glib. But the actual drawing requires effort and attention. And that's where it's at. So I wasn't particularly interested in anybody else's work in the office except for Simonson. Simonson, it remains an astonishing talent. And he's really old. He's much older than me. I'm old, and he's really old. But he and I are probably the only guys that I can think of off the top of my head of our generation who are not doing work that is parody of itself. The work on Ragnarok is astonishing. The content doesn't. I don't care about Norse myths. But the work is unfucking believable. It really is. He's astonishing.
So it's almost like you don't even care what the story is. You just dig the.
Walter's idea. I mean, there used to be was a big band in the 40s called Charlie Barnett. He would do these he would create pastiches, the Duke's idea, the Count's idea, Benny's idea. Walter's idea about picture making is so personal and so idiosyncratic, and so evolved beyond what the comic book audience expects, that he's had to tamp that down and make it more palatable to the audience. But the audience still lags way behind him in the understanding of his graphic genius. He's really that good. To a certain extent, it's when we look back at EC, the really popular artists at EC were Graham Ingalls and Wallace Wood and Al Williamson. And they were all fine, but let's face it. I mean, from my perspective, Harvey Kurtzman was a better artist than those guys. And so was Bernie Kriegstein. But Kriegstein was the most vilified artist at EC because his work was so cold and chilly and not human and not really interested in engaging with the human idea. And I don't really care about that. I look at this work and it's just like, wow, this is pretty hot. This is good stuff. So that graphic excellence, and that's where it's at.
Well put. I mean, I've always loved Walt's work as well, but when you were talking about, you saying you're not a great artist or whatnot. I mean, when you're working on a panel layout,
I'm really good. I'm not thinking about. I'm good, but to be good, I got to work really hard.
Well, okay, so all right, so you have to work really hard at it. So in that, with that train of thought, then do you find yourself really reworking panel layouts to get it just right? I mean, or because it seems so effortless. We've talked about this before, that it's I feel like it must just flow right out of you to get it right. But
I mean, I have certain patterns that I apply. I mean, when I did the Paradigm 1, 2, and 3, the first one was about the basics, the 5-panel page that we did last week. Mm-hmm. The second one was about variations on that theme, and the third one was putting it into practice. And it's the variations on a theme that creates a series of patterns that you can repeat. And one of my I pride myself on an instinctual understanding of what pattern best serves what narrative. And what's interesting is that, to me at least, I can't speak for you, in the script I'm doing now for Hey Kids Volume 3, is that there are a number of places where I've broken that pattern and changing up some different shapes on the page. But no, I rework a great deal. One of the reasons I work the way I do, I now do my figures and my backgrounds on separate sheets and combine them in Photoshop in conjunction with my IT guy. So we do a lot of moving stuff around, enlarging and reducing. And it's a complex process, but it involves a lot of finessing and a lot of tweaking. And I've often referenced Fred Tarabaugh's article about Earl Oliver Hearst, who was a great illustrator of the 1930s, 40s, and 50s, who was a cartoonist and became a mainstream illustrator and a children's book artist. And the title of the article was Earl Oliver Hearst and the Illusion of Spontaneity. And to a certain extent, my work looks spontaneous, but it's very labored. Very labored. That's it.
Now, you just said that you're kind of working on the figures and different things separately and then combining them.
I'll show
show me, because it's funny. I was looking at some artwork yesterday at a dealer friend's house, and I came across a piece of your artwork, but I knew it was yours because I recognized the signature, but it had about 40 small figures inked out on it, and I was like, why did Howard do that?
Here's stuff from the last piece of artwork I did. Here's something else.
It'll make it easier. There we go.
Yes. These are then scanned and combined in Photoshop, and I just threw them across the room because no one else.
Those could be on a future show or something, Howard.
Please, calm down. Just calm down.
Don't damage the art. Okay, so that's a new approach for you then, right? I mean, is it a time saver, or what's the? I've
been doing it for 20 years. This evolved out of an experience I had working on Blade. I was doing Blade, and we had a sequence in Blade issue 4, 18 pages of which took place in a department store at Christmas time, which is a real pain in the ass to draw. It's work. It's time. Really. So I made an executive decision based on time and money factors. I found 3 really expansive, wide-angle views of the Macy's shopping floor, different views. I blew them up to 11 by 17, traced them, inked them, scanned the tracings, and then added additional artwork, which was Christmas decorations, elves, toys and shit like this. And it was solely to save time and money to get the work done in a reasonable amount of time. But there was an unexpected and then delightfully unintended benefit, which was that with these three different views, by cropping and cutting, flopping, and using them selectively, we achieved a greater level of verisimilitude by consistency. And this was the result. This is the final part of an argument that I'd had with my assistant on the book that I'd come back to do at DC when I came back after doing television, who was among these people on this list of people here, these who were asking me questions and nudging me, poking me. And it was a recognition that the argument we'd had in doing that book, I had been wrong and he'd been right. And I hired him to write a book, a manual of how to do comics with Photoshop. And that book is the textbook of our working study experience in my office. And it served us phenomenally well. It's made it possible to turn out more work. It's made it possible for us to think about comics in a way that really does have footprints in both in the traditional and the modern. And it's a really effective way to produce material in a time efficient way.
I would think that'd be difficult though, working with a collaborator in that way. No,
it is. It's not a breeze by any means, but it creates a series of problems to be solved that are solvable in a digital way that in no way interferes with the drawing, but you can create emphasis. I mean, one of the thing about those figures that I just showed you is they're going to be reproduced much smaller than I've drawn them. Mm-hmm. But that scale gives us an opportunity to layer and create depth. And it's a very effective technique. And I owe everything in this to the argument that I had with Don Cameron, who was my assistant, on that book, Mighty Love. And it was a 96-page book, and it was a running conversation, a conversation that continues to this day. And I called him after this experience and explained to him that I've been wrong, he'd been right, and that was the direction we went. I mean, I have no dog in the fight of always being right. I did for the longest time, and it's no longer part of my experience. If I'm wrong, I'm okay with it, because it's not a scourge in my memory. It doesn't. I have no ego attached to this bullshit. I can learn to work, because basically one of the reasons that I feel perfectly competent and justified to do the paradigm stuff is that because I have no natural skill set, I've taught myself and learned by watching others do it, how to do what I do. And my work, there's no gut in my work at all. It's all cerebral. It's one of the reasons why I respond to Kriegstein stuff, because Kriegstein stuff is extremely chilly and cerebral. And it's why I respond to Toth, and even Woody's stuff. I mean, as emotional as it is, there's an incredible amount of there's grunt labor there that you can really feel the sweat equity being provided in that work. So.
Interesting. Well, hey, there was a question about the paradigm from Eric, just in general, asking about the other two parts of the paradigm. Will we ever do that? And I know that we've been talking about that, so yeah. I can't say when we'll be doing that, Eric, but I think Howard and I think it's pretty
likely. Bill and I have gone back and forth on this, but I think we're reaching a point where once we settle shit out, it's going to happen. It may happen on a more professional level than we did it before. Mm-hmm. But it will happen, and the material owes a great deal to the editorial input from Thomas Kay, who edits my stuff for Image, and the organization of the paperwork and the presentation is very much a collaborative experience with him, because he's frequently what I have needed an editor is so I make sure I know what I'm talking about and that I'm making clear what I mean to say. And Thomas is that guy. Thomas can, when I'm finished with these scripts, Thomas gets them and he will shred me. And I'm okay with that because every idea he has costs me time and money, but every idea is well worth responding to.
Well, there you go. So we will be doing something at some point.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
yeah.
I see no doubt in that regard.
Good.
Despite Bill. Despite Bill.
Me. Hey, I'm trying over here, man. It's
Yeah. You remember what Yoda said about trying, right?
Yeah.
Trying bullshit is,
I need like you. I need a partner in here helping me do this stuff. Right now, I'm doing it all by myself. I can't.
No, I couldn't agree more. I completely agree.
I've reached that point where I need to to kind of branch out and bring somebody in to help me kind of organize some of this stuff, and then we might be able to.
There's a reason McMahon had a life,
right? Well, yeah. Well, I'll get there someday. And so we are going to sell some art, everybody. Just so you know, probably within the next 5 minutes we'll start that. And so Nicole knows because Nicole's watching this. She's getting an art education.
Nicole, please. I'm old.
She actually always emails me after these shows that we do and talks about how much she enjoys them because she's learning a lot about comics and your vision and anybody else who we've had on these shows as well. So she's
I mean, my feeling is I have to create acute disappointment with anybody else besides me. I mean, let's face it. I am the Archbishop of Fun, and in that position, it's just like it's a bar that's kept very high, and you get these totally inarticulate mooks who can't convey a concept, let alone a word. Sad.
Well, why don't we answer a few questions before we get started to the art side of things? Maybe we'll keep them. We won't run on them too long. But if you could choose any actor who could play Reuben Flagg, who would it be today? Or do you have one?
I do. And again, it's going to be an actor you've never heard of, who I think would be perfect. It's an actor named Andy Carl. Okay, who's a stage actor, Broadway actor. He played Rocky in Rocky the Musical. Not making this shit up. He played the Richard Gere part in the original production of Pretty Woman, the musical, which sucked a dick. It was terrible. But he's really good. And he has a kind of the look and the attitude of a guy who's sort of standing over on the side watching, waiting to move in. I know people have said John Hamm, but Flagg should have a certain youthful naivete about him. And Hamm has aged into a magisterial figure. He's an authority figure. Back in the day, I know you're going to laugh when I say this, but I thought Bob Saget would have been a really interesting choice to play the part.
The funny thing is, I can see it though.
Character has to be a wise guy, and Carl has that sensibility. I mean, he's someone I really like for the part, and that's who I would think.
All right, let's see.
Pick up your end there, Bill. Come on, let's go.
I should be firing these things off. David wanted to know about whether or not there'd be an omnibus for Hey Kids, or
probably more than likely. Yeah, and Gregory, yes, Matt Bomer wouldn't be bad. And Anthony Starr, I mean, who's watching The Boys? Everybody's watching The Boys. Okay. Yeah. Who had seen Banshee before when they watched The Boys, did a double take when they realized that the Homelander was the guy who played Lucas Hood on Banshee. A friend of mine literally hurt himself when he realized this. Starr obviously has some issues with shit, but boy, the performance he's doing, I have not seen any of season 3. But Anthony Starr is fantastic. Have you seen it at all?
I haven't seen season 3. I wait till the whole thing's out and then so I can binge watch it.
I got dispensation from the wife as I drive her over to the airport today to watch a bunch of shit without her because she doesn't care like we do. We care. Peaky Blinders. There you go.
Yeah, I'll ask this one, but I know it's you've been asked it a million times. I think you've even answered it. Sort of greatest artistic influences. I mean, I think Wood is going to be on there, right? I mean, how could he?
Well, I mean, Gil was the guy I wanted to be when I grew up, when I was a kid. But as I've gotten older, the guys I look at every day are Alex Toth and John Severin and Wallace Wood. Mm-hmm. And I love those guys. Severin is a huge favorite of mine. I know that's completely wacky, but it's true. But I also look at a lot of stuff that's not comic book related. I mean, I look at the work of Robert Fawcett, who is a major American illustrator that was an artist. I own a number of his originals, and he remains a huge source of inspiration to me. His writing about drawing continues to inform the way I think about drawing to this day. Al Parker, but I'm doing less abstract work than I used to. I used to go a little wacky. One of the great things about the 90s in comics, there were all these people doing this stuff that was imitating my approach to layout. But it was like, people had no idea. They had great accents, but no language, no vocabulary. One of the things that always freaked people out when I was doing the Marvel seminars was that I tried to talk about the concept of formalism. That even in my weirdest layout, there's a structural narrative built into the material that requires an understanding of formalism. I'm a great believer in a formal idea.
Where do you where did that come from? I mean, was it somebody that you had worked with in their studio? I mean, did it just come naturally to you? I mean, it seems like it's something that really needed to be learned.
I was bored out of my mind by the 6-panel grid.
Yeah.
But I looked at Harvey Kurtzman's work, and Kurtzman had this brilliant approach, this journalistic narrative approach. But I wanted to be more flamboyant than that, so I got flamboyant. And the Flagg stuff was the sort of the expectoration of all of everything I've been learning. Looking at the work of Milton Glaser, Seymour Quast, the Pushpin Studio stuff, and American illustration, movie poster design, graphic design, mapping. There's a cartographer and designer named Richard Saul Werman who I've been trying to figure out a way to use some of his ideas in comics for years, and it's hard because he designed a lot of the subway maps for various cities, subway maps, Metro in Paris and the New York Well, and there's all sorts of different stuff. It's and the thing is, so much of it is the synergy of text and image. As I've said earlier, I said I'm a comic book artist. I'm a cartoonist. I'm a graphic designer in the service of narrative. So that my interest is the idea of making pictures that have narrative value that work in conjunction with text. And I'm not the best drawer in the world, not the best writer in the world, but the synergy that exists, the synchronicity that evolves between the text and the image is where my value shines, and that's how I feel about the work. The source of this interest, I can't really say. I think most comic book artists do this because we want attention, and I'm willing to mistake attention for affection. So it's just all sorts of stuff constantly being. I mean, I'm always looking to be influenced. I truly am, and I've said more than once, I'm as influenced by Frank Lesser, the great musical hound, the guy who wrote Guys and Dolls and How to Succeed in Business, and Most Happy Fella, as I am by anybody, in text or pictures. Because and when I read Sondheim's book about his lyrics, he commodified my own feelings about Frank Lesser by referring to him as the greatest vernacular American songwriter around, and I stand by that. I learned a great deal from that, and musical theater is informs my work dramatically as well. Not so much in the melodramatic way, because my stuff is not particularly melodramatic, but in the sense of posturing, the sense of placement. During the lockdown, we caught up on a lot of movies my wife had never seen because she was not a moviegoer in her youth. We watched a lot of the Hitchcock stuff. And one of the things I learned from the Hitchcock stuff is the huge influence that Hitchcock had on the way I make pictures, in terms of the horizontal image and composing for the horizontal image. When we did the paradigm, we talked about how difficult it is to compose for the horizontal space. And so much of that is, both the influence of Mondrian, who was vertical, but still composed in a geometric way, but also the idea of dynamic triangles and dynamic angles. I have a real aversion to panels that don't work against a grid. I don't like the diagonal panel stuff or circles and stuff. But I like breaking things up in the context of that stuff without doing Dutch angles, without tilting the camera, but offering diagonals to support the horizontals. That's
so it's all about staging. You talked about that as paradigm, where you talk about depth and how important that is within the panel pages.
Well, when a shape goes from the vertical to the diagonal creates interest and points the reader at stuff.
Mhm.
And engaging the reader is absolutely an imperative of the work. An absolute imperative.
Well, everybody's enjoying it. So Philip says, why am I suddenly imagining American Flagg the musical?
Because when you see a guy reach for stars in the sky, you can bet that he's doing it for some doll. You asked.
There you go. Now you know. um, Let me see. I think I've probably hit most of the questions. Well, there's so many other questions here. We can't do all these. We're just going to have to keep doing more of these shows, even if they aren't art sales, Howard. We've got to do these.
I think so. I like talking to you. You know, despite your unkemptness. Wait a minute. I'm the unkempt one. That's right.
Yeah,
we're both wearing the unisex costume of our generation, right?
Yes, exactly.
And this is a shirt I stole from my grandson. You know, some video game.
You got a big grandson, right? Well, you said they're all grown up now.
Yeah, they're idiots. They hate me so much. They're indifferent. They want my car.
What kind of car do you drive?
Just a BMW. I'm really bourgeois. I can't help it. I'm so, you know, I'm not a gearhead by any means. You know, like you know, Maurice Sendak said, a hole is to dig. By me, a car is to drive. You know, that's all.
I hear you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we get onto the art sale thing, and then Howard,
Yeah.
after this whole thing's over, obviously we'll email a bunch to try to figure out what we can do about the paradigm and how we can do more of these shows.
Yeah, I think we're in the weeds on that. We'll get something going. I think it's definitely going to happen.
And
I
I did see one thing though. I saw one person say, "Have you ever thought about publishing something related to the paradigm, or is it really better with you as kind of educating us, in person?"
Funny you mentioned. I was solicited by Watson Guptill many years ago to do it as a book, and I did. They bought it, and then they dropped the buy because they realized that what I was offering was something that was so esoteric by their terms and standards. What they really wanted was someone to explain how you put down a lot of India ink down, and take a toothbrush and with white paint and spritz it to make stars. That's what they really wanted. They had infantilized their audience to so profound a degree that it was, it's like graphic novels. Shut up, graphic novels, my ass. What the paradigm talks about is the realistic approach to aesthetics, and the understanding that there is a language and a vocabulary to what we do. That a comic book page is an element of space that represents time, and as I've said more than once, time in comics is represented by space. The amount of space allotted to an action in a panel is directly related to the amount of time involved in the action taking place. And that seems so logical to me, and yet it escapes people. People do these incredibly elaborate, tiny little inset panels, when an inset panel is a snapshot. It's a moment in time. And when I was doing the seminars, I realized I was the only guy at Marvel they were letting get away with doing insets, because editors who are not artists don't understand insets. They don't understand that just chopping off a piece of the end of a panel is not an aesthetic choice. It's a choice imposed by mechanics. Rather, using an inset creates a sense of volume and depth that can be used the way we use foreground elements in a panel to frame and isolate. It's just, again, this is not something I learned anywhere. It's something I learned everywhere. It's evolved from practice and study. That's it.
I can't see you teaching the paradigm any other way than in person or through a video, because I think people need to hear it. They need to hear your conviction when you're talking about it, because you could put it in a book.
Right. I think next time I'm going to get a mortar board. I think a mortar board with a tassel. I
like that idea.
Like guys are in the College of Musical Knowledge. There you go.
Yeah, you'll look very studious.
I have no dignity left whatsoever. I'm in a post-dignity phase of my life.
It would cover up that thing you got.
Don't start. Don't you start, Mr. Hair Person. Just leave it alone. I used to have really good hair. Just people who know me know that I had good hair at one point, and I was adorable in a kind of a Raul Julia kind of way.
Yeah. Well, you sent me that picture of you from the early '70s, so I know you did have hair back then.
I had good hair.
You did.
Good hair.
You dressed well.
Well, I was. Look. when I moved to California, I was dressed like a New Yorker, and I was gone in a year because I wasn't wearing the right uniform for the work that I was looking for. Showing up wearing a suit and tie meant that I was an attorney or an agent.
Mm-hmm.
I looked too prosperous for the work I was looking for.
I'm not quite sure I get the reference, but Gregory says that Julius
Sumner Miller of comics. I'm sticking to it.
I don't know who Julius Sumner Miller is, unfortunately.
I've forgotten already. Gregory, explain that, please. I'm
gonna have to Google it after the show. Oh, the movie about okay.
Yeah, it was. Samuel, it was a great. That documentary was fantastic. Yep. It really was.
I saw that.
I've always said that the arc of my physical appearance has gone to go from the Jewish Robert Downey Jr. to Ed Asner playing an unmade bed. And that's where it's at,
Oh man, that's an awful image. It's the latter part of it more than.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ohio boy. Please don't push your luck.
Oh man. All right. Well,
call me. What?
I know we're going to talk probably a bit about. There's stories to be told with each of the images that we're going to show today. So the banner is still going to exist, everybody, as we transition into the art sales side of things.
And Mr. Fun will not leave.
No, Howard will stay. And I did try to answer a few of the questions in the chat. There are 16 lots available for sale today. There are 14 character commission type pieces, and there are 2 cover recreations, one of which is Howard's own creation that he has recreated, and another one from a classic piece of comics history. So those will be there'll be 16 lots in total. And I might as well show these slides too, because there was a question about whether or not we allowed for international shipping. And so maybe you missed the beginning of the show.
While you're doing that, I'm going to make a quick run. I'll be right back. Okay.
Not a problem, Howard. All right.
Don't
totally. I'll mute your microphone. Just close the door. All right, so here we go, everybody. What do we got? To purchase artwork today, you're going to be doing it via email, not via claiming in the chat like we do on so many other shows here on the Comic Art Live channel. So the email that you're going to send your claim to will be Nicole, Nicole, at thirdeyecomics.com. And in it, we just want you to put the subject of Chaykin art sale. Hey, you can if you're in a hurry because you want to try to get that claim, you can just type Chaykin for all we care, as long as we get that. But also include in the body of your email the lot number and your name. The first person that gets their email to Nicole will reply to and let them know that they got it. She will also then text me letting me know that it has sold. I will announce that here in the chat. And so anybody who did not get a reply from Nicole knows that they did not get that artwork. So we know that, there's with 16 art pieces here and some of you wanting to, leave with one, it's important to know that you didn't get a particular lot so you can go after a follow-up lot that we show. And it's always wise, everybody, to keep notes of what you see because, maybe you want to wait till we get through the first 14 character pieces before you decide which one you want. You might as well be taking notes while you're watching the lots so that because you can claim the artworks at any time. You don't have to do it just when it's on the screen. And just a couple other quick points as well. Third Eye Comics has all the artwork right now, and we expect payment within 48 hours. PayPal invoices are sent out immediately after the show by Nicole, and payments expected within 40 hours, and then you will get the artwork probably before Friday because they're very prompt at shipping out the artwork. And as far as the shipping goes, the prices that you'll see on the screens tonight are not including shipping. Domestic shipping is $20 and international shipping is $50. And of course, we will combine on the shipping if you pick up multiple lots. So keep that in mind as well. Always good to know. So there we go. I went through everything. And Howard, you're back. I didn't mute your microphone either, but
look, the sound of flushing, there's nothing like it in the world, The hills are alive with the sound of toilets.
Oh man,
who loves it?
Breaking into song.
Yeah,
here
Julius.
Start the
now I remember Julius Sumner Miller and just Greggy. You cracked me up twice. Thanks, man.
Greg says he's going to send out some YouTube links as well. All right, so let's get this show on the road. So again, 16 lots, everybody, and they're not really ordered lowest to highest. I did kind of mix it up. I kind of kept the characters together, I guess, based
in the name of fun. In the name of fun,
In the
right?
name of fun, right? We wanted to keep you guessing. I guess that's the way I chose to
It's
do.
the first church of fun here. That's what we're members of.
But I will say that the two most expensive pieces, the two cover recreations, are the 15th and 16th pieces. So I did put those at the end. So let's get this show on the road here. We're going to go ahead and show. Oh, what size of the artworks? Well, let's see. I know I have that note somewhere here, and you probably can tell them. What was it? 8.5 by 4?
Everything. All the character pieces are 8.5 by 14.
14.
The
Yep.
two recreations are 11 by 17.
Correct. Thank you. I should
You're
just let you
welcome.
do that, Howard. You can sell
You're
it
welcome.
better than I can.
You hurt my feelings, man, with that hair shit. I'm really hurt, man.
Man. Well, you're I think you're beyond Rogaine and any of those other.
Yeah, I'm into no gain. You know.
All right, here we go. Let's get this first lot on the screen. And let's see, what do we start off with here? All right, we started off with the ladies. So first lot number 1, it's $450. We just entitled this one Brunette, and it's on 8.5 by 14, as we've stated for these first 14 lots. We want you to email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com if you'd like to claim this lot. And what can you say? I mean, it's a beautiful brunette, Howard.
Look, I mean, Al Williamson once told me that he felt that as soon as Woody died, I was the last guy who did the most wanton guy in comics, and I stand by that. Wanton women, you know, it's just one of those things, you know. I'm an incredibly vanilla person who just, you know, it's what I do, and I do it well, apparently.
Well, I mean, you know, that was one of the things that always it made me smile and pick up copies of American Flagg, because you did draw the women rather well, and you know, and it was interesting. They were you know, they were seductive in a you know, I don't want to say slutty kind of way, but they were beautiful at the same time, you know, and it was an interesting take on it.
I like to think in an alternate universe, I've been doing Archie in a very interesting way.
There you go. And I should let everybody know this lot has been claimed. But you know, see, we really have never even talked about American Flagg at all. We have to like dedicate a show kind of just to that. I'd love to talk more about that. But that was really one of the things. I mean, you know, because I was a teenager buying American Flagg, and that was one of the things I appreciated about it. I was like, man, you know, Marvel and DC, they don't, you know, the spandex clad superheroes just don't, you know, while they're cute and all, I mean, you drew women like, you know, you wanted a woman to be seen, right? I mean, I was like, yeah, you were tackling it and not afraid to portray, you know, men as crass and sometimes, you know, a little inappropriate, but it was good. I mean, I loved reading those stories, and I love seeing, you know, your art in them.
Well, the sexual element of comics, in all ways, hetero, cis, homosexual, and all, has always been present. I mean, you go right back to you know, for all the Matt Baker talk about headlight comics, there are also all those incredibly homoerotic covers that Lou Fine did for the Ray, and you know, just that almost Michelangelo style of approach to the male body. And one of the things, and there's this incredible discomfort with moving past the subtextual element of that into the contextual element of that. Comic book fans love pinups and cute sort of teasy shit, but when you confront them with the potential of sweaty desire, they get very hinky. Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know, you know. And I kind of like I like the hinky.
Right. Well, you know, it's like when you're at the comic shop. I mean, I remember, like, I was buying a Playboy off the shelf, right? I mean, if I walked up to the counter with American Flagg in my hand, people, you know, I had that feeling, but that was cool. I mean, it wasn't something that you experienced, like taking a copy of Thor up to the register and picking that up. You know, you knew
it was a conscious decision to sort of inflame.
It worked.
I'm a great believer in the inflammation of character. I like the idea. I mean, and again, I mean, the Flagg stuff was also concurrent with the advent of the VHS and the VCR. So people were all of a sudden seeing a sweaty load of porn at home.
That's
I'm
true.
a guy.
It was the era, right? HBO and yeah, I mean that was
But I also renting DVDs, VHS tapes,
Mhm.
and I mean the characters in the book are to a certain extent influenced by a lot of porn actors of that time. The character of Peg is based on Juliet Anderson, who was an older woman who came out of a utopian cult, who became a porn actress late in life. She was in her late 40s, and she was batshit. But my wife and I watched a lot of porn. We had a Betamax that looked like a Wollensack reel to reel with a wire remote. It was like you cranked it up. And there it was. Try to find a VHS, a VCR player today.
Yeah, you don't have to crank them up anymore. You just fire it up on, online. There's plenty of stuff there for you.
Thank you, Bill.
All right, we're moving on to lot number 2 here. Another beautiful woman. This is again 8.5 by 14. This is a blonde, one of 2. That's why it says blonde 1 on lot number 2 here. This one is $500. She's having a good time. She's dancing. There's a little bit of motion in this one, and yeah, very seductive. And I love the mask, Howard. That was a very nice touch.
Well, I mean, one of the elements. I mean, a lot of this stuff derives from my experience now working on Black Kiss, and one of the things about Black Kiss was that I always covered the eyes on the covers, or close the eyes, because that means a secret is maintained and a secret is kept. That's the implication of a mask, whether it's a blindfold, a domino mask, or something just simply hiding the eyes. Then you're implying then that there is a secret held here, and that was what I was seeking. Yeah, there. You're right, Maki Poo Poo. There is a certain Tracy Lords in this here.
Lot 2 has sold, everybody, just so you know.
It's gone already?
Yeah, it's gone.
Jeez, wow, okay. Goodbye. I'll miss you.
Hey, I would have bought this one if it didn't sell. I mean, I knew it was going to sell anyway, but this is a beautiful, I mean, everything about it. I love the motion in it. The character's fantastic. I love that one eye's covered up. I mean, damn, Howard, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Again, don't sound so fucking surprised. I'm the worst. I mean, you can't look. There are so many. You can get so many guys in the comic business just put up with your shit anytime you want. I'm not that guy.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I grew up in a family where I got picked on all the time by my uncles. They would hang me up. They would grab me by the pant leg, right, the bottom of the pant leg, lift me up upside down and shake me until I fell out of my pants on my underpants on the floor, and then I would run away screaming. And with all the family around me, you wonder why I am like I am today. That's what.
When you had the opportunity, did you have them killed?
I didn't. Probably. In fact, I'm going to see one after the show. One of those uncles who's here in Ohio. Wow. But yeah, that's I'm used to this kind of treatment. It's all right, man.
Oh. Well, I mean, the last time I was in therapy, I referred to my therapy as Little Miss Healthcare Professional. And at the briefest moment, she dropped her guys and says, "Don't ever do that again," because that's exactly how both my older brothers talked to me. It was really funny.
Oh man! All right, lot number 3. It's
Mm-hmm.
no, it's not the last of our beautiful women, but this is going to be blonde number 2, and blonde number 2. So is actually it still says blonde 1, but it is blonde 2. Wow, that's a typo on my part. But this is lot 3, a little bit more expensive, $550, just because there's a lot more detail on this one. Again, 8.5 by 14. You got to email Nicole, of course. So this one, when I saw this piece, Howard, we have a saying on the channel that was coined by a gentleman named Fish Benz. It's a thigh gap, and we kind of measure the success of art and the popularity of art, or like how maybe even sometimes how trashy some art is, even if it's Captain America, by the amount of thigh gap that a comic character has. And when I saw that, that's exactly what I thought here. But this, I mean, again, well rendered, beautiful woman here, Howard.
Well, thank you. Again, stop sounding so damn surprised. Accept it as a gift.
I'm complimenting you guys.
I can hear it in your voice.
But But no, this is another great image. And yeah, now, except for my typo there, I should have said, I can't believe I didn't change the 1 to a 2 on that one when I was putting that thing
It's the
together.
heroin. It really is. It's that heroin thing, you know.
That's why I'm trying to escape it by moving to Florida, but that's probably the wrong direction to
Yeah,
go.
but graphics don't work.
No, they don't, do they? Man, I'm in trouble here. Ah. But yes, this was way past the side, says Mr. Easy Go Lucky. Infinite Horizons. Again, but this is, but again, I look back at this and this is the kind of stuff that I thought, when I was picking up American Flagg. I mean, these are the things that like I'd see it and I'm like, gosh, this is just, comics weren't like this, a year before. And you just turned everything on its head, really. I mean, you could say there were interesting reads out there, and we were getting to see a lot of different creators in heavy metal and whatnot. But yeah, I really feel like when American Flagg came out, it really did kind of set a different standard and tone that gave, I think, a lot of freedom to other creators.
I think Dan DiDio sort of, dismissed me as an 80s guy. And I said, at least I had a decade. The 80s, the Flagg stuff to begin it, then to Times Squared, Black Hawk, and then ending it with Black Kiss. It was a nice time for me. I mean, and again, it ended a mindset for me as the 90s came on, and I was able to sort of move on to other things. But and again, it took me many years to figure out how to accommodate people who wanted to see a sequel to the Black Kiss stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it really wasn't until I'd read the Stephen Sondheim book of lyrics that the idea of doing a character, doing a 12 decades of stuff came through and came clear to me. And that was that.
All right. Well, Lot 3 is still out there. Lot 3 is still
really
out there. Yeah. Yeah. See, we learn a little bit when we do these shows too, Howard. Well, what sells, what people put on their maybe list. So
okay.
We'll see what Lot 4 is something different. I mean, I have to ask you some questions when I pull this one up. But Lot 4, wait a minute, it still says Blonde 1 on it. I know I typed Tinkerbell on this thing.
Bill,
what is up here?
What's wrong with you?
I'm beginning to wonder if my Photoshop isn't saving when I'm typing in here anymore. But this is Lot 4. It was just titled Tink by you. It's on again 8.5 by 14, $500 for this one. I mean, I know you're not trying to get a job with Disney, but what was,
years ago, I was talking to somebody who had a girlfriend who was obsessed with Tinkerbell, but also had a real thing going on with fetish wear, and it reminded me of that. So I thought I'd do it.
Well, it's she's incredibly cute, as only Tinkerbell can be.
I wanted to try doing something that was completely outside of my normal expected wheelhouse, and just having a good time.
I mean, do you do that a lot? Like, it's for warm-ups and things like that? Just sit
down.
No,
I never warm up.
No?
No, I mean, it's one of the things that I never understood Gil doing all that stuff. When I work, I sit down and get right to it, and just do the job. This was just inspired by a recollection. And again, it goes back to an offhand remark I made a couple minutes ago about Betty and Veronica and Archie. I mean, the sexual nature of comic book drawing is something that must never be forgotten. Dan DeCarlos was started out as a girly cartoonist. I have a ton of his work, before he went to work for Archie, and there's a real sensuality to that work. And for all the talk about the desexualizing of female characters who are often dressed ridiculously in superhero comics, there's an enormous sexual element on the male bodies as well. There's no escaping it.
All right. Well, Tinkerbell is blonde, so I guess I got it partially right. I could have said blonde Tink, I guess, but that one's has not been claimed either, Howard. So I'm
feeling hurt, man. My feeling is hurt.
We're still at 50%. We're still at 50%.
Yeah, I know, but I want to be loved in toto.
Well, all right. Well, we'll see that one. We will recap anything that doesn't sell. I don't know if we had a recap the last time. I know we had a sell.
Everything. I was astonished that everything sold.
Well, hey, I'm still working here. Give me some time. Give me some time.
Let's get with it.
And I know that my text editing, this next one is not titled Blonde 1.
Thank goodness. Are we sure about this? I don't know, man.
I pre-checked it just now because I
Ah,
was gonna
nice.
cry if it was.
Oh,
All right, here we go. Lot number 5, Batman, of course. This is on the 8.5 by 14 again. This is priced at $550. And as usual, you're going to email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com for this one. So you had a bit of experience working on the Dark Knight, Howard, in your professional career.
I've done the character a couple of times. It took me a long time to figure out how to do the character without embarrassing myself. I'm not. It's a difficult character for me to draw well. It really is because the outfit is so plastic and malleable, and just goes all over the place. And I don't, it took me. It really wasn't until I did the Dark Allegiance and stuff in the early 90s that I felt that I'd gotten to the point where I could actually draw the character and draw them well. So there you go.
But why is that? I mean, when you say, but was it because you felt intimidated about the character?
No, it's because it's a silly looking outfit, and it needs. I mean, it needs to be made to work around a real human figure. It's like I really, for me, Batman will always be drawn by Dick Sprang.
Sure.
I love the Dick Sprang Super Batman stuff so much. It's really important. That work is defining for me, and I couldn't do that, but I still draw that huge lantern jaw, and when I draw Bruce Wayne, I still draw him with that widow's peak, and the hero of the Mark Mann stuff that I'm doing has the old Dick Grayson Robin haircut, those spit curls on either side of the forehead,
sure,
which I really like. So.
All right. Well, I can tell you that this one hasn't sold yet, but lot 4 did sell, the Tink. So
interesting.
Yes. Well, like I say, I know sometimes people like to wait it out and see what other pieces are going to be here before they make their purchases.
It's just not fair. It's just not fair.
I know it does lead to a lot of angst, doesn't it?
Hurting me deeply. I'm having an episode here.
Well, okay, so lot 5 is still out there, but a quick question from Andrew Gorlick. Do you have a favorite superhero character that you like?
No.
I had a feeling that was going to be the answer for some reason.
No.
Not even that one. Not even the Dark Knight. All right.
No. And again, for the West Coast, no.
All right, and see, we get the puns in the audience. Rick Welch said they just.
Oh, Rick, relax. Don't just calm. That's terrible. You should be a little dignity and shame would go a long way.
We're all trying to do stand up here when we do these live streams, Howard. We try. We're all trying, man. All right, so 5 is still out there, and so is lot 3. Of course, that was the blonde number 2. So those 2 are still available. And I kind of screwed up. I didn't stick with DC. I mixed a couple Marvel pieces in here because there is another.
No, I've never been so insulted in my life.
I know. That's because Tom wasn't here to edit this. He would have set me straight on the path for these. But this next character is a Marvel character, and so this is lot 6. It's Deadpool on 8.5 by 14. Price on this one is $500. Email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com if you'd like to pick this one up. So Deadpool, Howard.
I wrote and drew a Deadpool story a couple of years ago about a kid who uses his bar mitzvah money to hire Deadpool to murder his stepfather.
Was this requested of you, or did you just do it for fun?
I never do anything for fun. What I do for fun, I do for fun is eat macaroni and cheese. Okay, that's my idea of fun. No, I was asked to do an 8-page Deadpool story, so that was the story I pitched, and they bought it. And and the guy, basically Deadpool finally kills the guy by impaling him on an ice sculpture of the Empire State Building.
Wow, I did not read that.
I mean, I love the idea of putting your bar mitzvah money to good use.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly he couldn't wait to open up all those envelopes, right? Jeez. Man, all right. Well, see, I did not know you had done a Deadpool. That's why I was.
Yeah, I've done a couple of covers.
Dang.
And I've done 3 or 4 covers, and I did an 8-page Deadpool story.
All right. Well, I'm going to have to dig in some comic bins and find those because
the bar mitzvah story is pretty funny. It really is.
What we
Uh,
okay, now, hey, so everybody knows this lot did sell, but so what was that published in, though? It was an 8-page story published in, was it in a Deadpool comic?
all I remember about it is Dave, the brilliant, astonishingly brilliant Dave Johnson did the cover. That's all I remember.
You always you talk very highly of Dave, and I know why. I mean, Dave
Dave is one of my 3 favorite comic book cover artists in all time. He's the best. He's so good.
The design is incredible,
and he's such a knucklehead too. You know, he really is. The best, some of the best dinner companionship I've ever had.
We should get the both of you on camera sometime. That might be
he wouldn't do it. He's too shy.
All right, now that's a challenge. All right, well, let's get down to lot number 7 here. So what do we got? Let's see, 3 and 5 are still available, but we're going over to lot 7 now.
Bastards.
All right, again, Namorita on this one, Namorita. I mean, I'm not even sure if I'm probably not even pronouncing that right, but
who cares? I did the character in the Avengers 59 book and had a really good time drawing her. I love all the seashell motifing and the outfit, and had a good time doing it. So I figured I might as well replay it, do a little bit of cheesecakey Marvel kind of stuff, and had a good time.
Yeah, well, this is priced at $4.50, and on the 8.5 by 14.
Price to sell, volume.
And 450 is the lowest price on the character pieces that we have today, and 600 is always is the top on those as well. So everybody knows in advance. But if you like this piece, you can email Nicole. Of course, the email is on there for everyone to see. But yeah, she looks pretty tough. I wouldn't want to mess with her. I remember the early, like the John Byrne, versions of her and whatnot. She wasn't so beefy, but she looks like she could whoop you.
I tend not to draw characters that look like puppets.
That's good.
One of those conscious aesthetic choices I make.
All right. Well, this one's still out there right now as well.
Bastards, you're hurting my feeling. I've only got one left.
Well, Mike Prevenick said Avengers 1959 rocked.
It was swell.
And here you go. Philip Hobbs he's set me straight, so I'll be able to find it. Deadpool story was in Deadpool 1000. He just Googled it, so there you go. Now I will be able to read it after the show.
It's a funny story. It's the heartwarming tale that transforms lives.
So, but did anything bad happen to the kid? Well, no, don't spoil it for me. I've got to read it.
In my world, there's no such thing as good guys and bad guys. There are guys who get away with it, and there are guys who get caught in the hands in the cookie jar, and that's really how the world breaks down.
All right. Well said. So next up is a DC character. Before I switch back to a Marvel character, like I said, I've really kind of screwed everything up. And this is not Blonde 1 at all. This is Superman, of course. This is lot 8. And the price on this one is $550. And I can let everybody know that lot 7 has sold as well. So Namorita has been picked up. Thank you very much, whoever got that. Superman.
I right now I'm working on Hey Kids Volume 3, and one of the things we're doing in there is fake Golden Age covers featuring the character that is clearly an avatar of Superman in the book called Powerhouse. And I'm looking at this stuff and reminded how much I loved the gold. I was a Golden Age collector in my adolescence and early teens, when it was an actually affordable hobby, when you could get a near mint run of action for $2.50 a pop. And the Jack Burnley covers, even just the what's his name? I forgot his name. I love those covers. They were just great. And the interiors were okay, but they had some really nice graphic design on the covers, and they were fun to do. And I love the fact that Schuster basically stole the idea from Roy Crane to use Tom Mix as the model for Superman, because that's really where it was at. That's what that character looked like in its earliest iteration. Thanks, Chaz. Fred Ray is the guy that I was trying to come up with.
Yep.
And I love that work so much. Most definitely. And I had a solid run of action. I had a solid run of Batman, and I love that material. And Superman was a big part of my boyhood. And in that box of comics I talked about earlier, Superman was a big player, and I don't like the edgy, dark stuff. I think Superman should be an embodiment of small town humility and nobility, and that's what I was trying to achieve with this piece. You know, glad to be Superman and glad to be here for you. That's what I was looking for. So there you go.
Yes, and it's a pleasure to always have you here as well, Howard. But a question for you on technique. This is pencil and ink, right? I mean, you can see the pencil.
It's brush, it's rapidograph, and it's also a lot of some dry brush, and also some wolf pencil, some Prismacolor. I use that a lot. I mean, one of the things, the reproduction in comics has gotten so good that you can achieve effects with a colored pencil that you could never have achieved before. And I love doing that stuff. I truly do. You know, getting a little filigree and curlicue, you know, to create form. And I love doing that. You know, a little bit of double lighting, you know, that bull neck on Superman. You know, I mean, my favorite Superman over the past couple of years was in Tom DeHaven's book, It's Superman.
Sure.
Which basically is it's if John Steinbeck and John Dos Passos collaborated on reinventing the Superman legend in the 1930s. It's really a must read. It's just gorgeous. It's one of the books. I mean, that, along with The Amazing Adventures of Cavalier and Clay and Men of Tomorrow by Jerry Jones, the currently incarcerated Jerry Jones. Those are the three books that everybody should read. It's really worth reading.
Jared says, rapidograph, is it still 1988?
Yes, it is. And thank you for your snide enthusiasm, Jared. Jared. Yes.
Oh man. Well, lot 8 is still out there. No love for Batman and Superman. What's up with that?
You fucking people.
Man.
These feelings are being hurt as look. I'm very fragile.
Yeah. Get your Kleenex handy here. So we're moving back to Marvel. One last time.
I don't like your tone or your attitude, fella.
Yeah, we've been on a really pleasant streak since we popped into this chat 5 minutes before the show started. So let's just keep it rolling. Lot number 9 next, Howard. Lot number 9. Last Marvel character, Wolverine, having a beer, having a brewski and a cigar, and this one's five.
We're no longer allowed to draw Wolverine with smoking in the comics, so here it is.
Hey, I mean, that's the way I liked him. You know, he always had a stogie. And what's he drinking, though? He's got to be drinking a beer, right?
Well, isn't that what the character drinks? Because he's Canadian and he operates from the perspective of American cliched ideas of what Canadians are like, right?
You know, I was not going to go there, but yes, that's probably a big part of it.
You know, it's like, and, you know, comic books are, in comic books, the characterization of characters is always one note and as banal and cliche as you can possibly find. English always call each other governor. Canadians always say "a" and they drink beer. You know, just the same bullshit. You know, it's the concept of diversity applied on a very small scale.
Well, I like this one. So just when I'm looking at this, so the dry brush. I mean, it's just so interesting how you work with between the dry brush and then a little bit of pencil that you leave in there.
Yeah, I mean, the fact is, I sit there and labor over it and work it out. What I do is I ink first, erase, and then go back in with a blue pencil and fix it up. Philip Hobbs thinks Canadians are supposed to be nice. No. That bub shit, right, Mike? There you go.
Right.
And by the way, rapidograph is no longer the tool it was when you were a child. Rapidograph is no longer made by a company called Kohinoor. It's now made by a company called Rotring, which has taken this tool, which used to require the kind of work to make it work as much work as you actually got to use it, and turned it into an extremely successful and workable instrument. They're really a good product. You can't get them in the States anymore. I have to buy them from Europe. But I love the tool. It's a great unit. It really is.
I like them.
Look it up. Google it. You'll see.
I had rapidographs when I was trying to be a budding artist back in the mid 80s.
Yeah. The Kohinoor was a piece of shit. It was disgusting. It was a waste. The Rotring product is dynamite. It's great. You know, it really is. You can smack it and crack it like Bonomo Turkish taffy. Polite, yes. Nice, depends. I'm not wearing Depends. I'm offended that you would think I'd be wearing Depends. I just went to the bathroom. I'm good.
That's right. Well, thank you for that comment, Linda. We like Canadians here. We really do. All right. Well, lot 9 is still out there as well. So we got
Jesus Christ, what happened? What happened to you guys worrying about my feelings?
lots 3, 5, 8, and 9 are still out there. So we're above 50% at least. We're
That's awful. I've never been so insulted in my life, and the day is still young.
Oh, that is true. You have a long day ahead of you.
Yeah. But when I'm done with you, it's going to be nothing but an eating festival.
Well, you can take off your pants and relax at that point.
I will. I'll put something on to replace them. I'm not going to walk around butt naked below the belt. It's not going to happen. As much as you'd like to imagine that, it isn't happening. Yeah.
All right, lot 10 here. Lot 10. Let me go ahead and highlight this one. This is Shadow 1. So you can tell there is a Shadow 2 that we will be seeing.
There is. He's not blonde.
It's not blonde at all. And this one is $600 and the same size as all the other ones, of course. And you need to email Nicole at Third Eye Comics if you'd like to pick this up. So you worked on the Shadow. You sort of, I read some interviews, Howard. I read a little bit every now and again. And I remember somebody asking you about, did you do the Shadow because you loved the old material? And what was your answer?
No. I did it because I needed the job to work on when I first moved to California. And that's the truth.
Did the Shadow find you, or did you pick the Shadow? I guess.
Oh no, I was approached by Dick Giordano at DC and asked me if I would be willing to do it, and I needed a job to be. I was in the process of getting ready to move to California in a couple of months. This happened at the San Diego convention in 1985. I agreed to do it, and so that poster, the cover of the first issue, was being worked on as my belongings were being moved into the house because they were late arriving with it. I had built my drawing table and had done the pencil for that cover while my belongings were still being moved out of the van into the house. Oh, and Jared, take a look at the rapidographs from Rote Ring. The new ones are very usable. They're really good. I beg to differ. I think I've been using them successfully for quite some time. And the Kohinoors are shit. The Rote Rings are good. The end. So yeah. So I mean, the Shadow was an opportunity to just I had no idea at the time, it was an opportunity to annoy Harlan Ellison to a profound degree, and I ran with that with gusto. Harlan was not happy with my work on the Shadow, and he made it clear. It was my first real experience with toxic fandom.
It wasn't from a fan.
Oh, but Harlan was a fan.
Oh.
Harlan was a huge fan of the Shadow, and he resented the fact that I had broken his childhood love's heart. I had made a what?
Nothing. I mean, I was just thinking. I get you on that one. That's because he was such a fan of the source material that you went so far astray from it that.
One of the things about the Shadow that must be identified is that the reason it's identified as a character of the 1930s and 40s is that it failed commercially in 1949. It was canceled. If Superman or Batman or any of those characters had been canceled back then, they'd be identified as nostalgia items as well. Mm-hmm. So I felt it was important to step out of that and do something else. I also tried to the idea of the 1949 collapse with the advent of the of kind of communism in China. Play with that idea.
I'm gonna have to. Howard, you look way too relaxed. I think I can't get into that kind of relaxed posture like you.
That's because I actually spend money on chairs as opposed to going to IKEA.
I don't shop at IKEA, not yet anyway. But maybe I will in the future. But
are you married? Are you married or divorced or what?
I am married. One
okay,
time.
That's right. Only divorced guys shop at IKEA. It's like IKEA is the divorced guy apartment franchises. They make most of their money selling furniture that falls apart immediately. Divorced guys in that for that interim between relationships. Hey,
artist and friend Sean Gordon Murphy is shouting, "Big fan, Howard."
Really?
Yeah, Sean is a regular on the channel. He's a lot of our shows.
Hola, back at you, Bubba, as the kids say. Thank you very much. It's very kind.
Hey, Sean, I'm actually going to pick up a piece of your artwork in a couple of days from Joe the Barbarian. So love your work as well. Yeah, that was one of my favorites. So lot 10 did sell, everybody. It is gone. So now we're 6 for 10.
My feeling was hurt. I'm dying over here. Come on.
All right. Well, let's see if we can keep.
Bill can give you a real idea of how much I give a shit.
All right, here we go. Lot number 11. It's another shadow, and I got the wording right on this one, didn't I? It's shadow.
Wow, look at
2.
that.
I didn't
Bill
even need another
demonstrates confidence.
This one is $600 as well, and
Outrageous.
same size. You email Nicole at Third Eye Comics.
Nicole needs to hear from you, all of you, at one time.
Why does the shadow, go 2 guns blazing on one and 1 gun blazing on this one, Howard?
So I ran out of space on the right side.
So it was an artistic decision, not a.
No, it was just a graphic. It was a decision based on the surface against which I was working.
All right. I mean, would it maybe he only had one person he needed to shoot rather than multiples, right? So
God, you got too much spare time.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to diagnose
you literally have too much spare time.
I do.
It's just very sad.
Well,
I don't feel that sad, but I'm having a good time acting like I feel sad.
Yeah, I haven't heard you sob once since the show started.
I sobbed. When did I sob last? Was it a movie? I forget.
So Jay Kirk's asking if there was any art from Satellite Sam. I think we had some character pieces from Satellite Sam on.
Yeah, there's some left, but most of it's gone.
Yeah, it's all or primarily sold. I mean, how do you handle art sales? You just do it at the shows, Howard?
My stuff is so cheap that nobody wants to represent me. I just sell it at conventions. I was in Pittsburgh last weekend and sold a lot of stuff.
Really? I mean, so you travel.
In person, I'm a beloved figure. People just can't get enough of me.
Well, they miss your singing. I know that.
Right. If they asked me, I could write a book about the way you walk and whisper and look. I could write a preface on how we met, so the world would never forget. And the simple secret of the plot is just to tell them that I love you a lot. And the world discovers as my book ends how to make 2 lovers of friends. Where else do you get this shit from, right? There you go. Look at that.
You can't get it anywhere else, Howard. Nowhere else, unless they can see you in person.
Actually, I do duets at conventions now and then with a number of people. It's kind of fun. Yeah. I mean, the last time I saw the currently defamed Ethan Van Sciver, he and I did a duet in a bathroom at a convention with great a cappella, bouncing, throwing doo-wops to the wall. It was great. Mm-hmm. We sang Amapola.
Oh my God. I can only imagine what that would have sounded like.
It was fabulous. Really, you missed, lives were transformed, Val.
If you were fortunate enough to be in the bathroom with you both. All right. Well, I'm sorry to say Lot 11 is still available.
These fucking people. How dare you? How dare you? Now do
They're
Elvis.
Biding their time. They're biding their time.
I'm biding my time, because that's the kind of guy I'm. Everything's a song cue. It can't be helped.
All right. Well, we got a pair of Star Wars artworks coming up next. Of course, we're going to show them to you one at a time. Yes. We won't talk about Star Wars during the show, but we will do a few pieces here or there. And we've got a very nice Luke here for lot number 12. This one is $600, as you can see, on the same size as we've been saying, 8.5 by 14. You just need to email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com if you'd like to pick up this Luke Skywalker. It's a rather long and lighted lightsaber there, but I like the way you framed this one, Howard. I mean, most of the other ones it was just the characters, but this one you kind of threw in that heavy.
Yeah, I was kind of skimming through the other ones. This one woke me up. Just kidding.
What do you mean? You're no. When you're working, you're sharp. Oh, and lot 12 has sold, by the way.
Of course it has.
Yes. I know. There's a lot of Star Wars fans out there, Howard.
Well, people don't get out enough.
Now, I know you worked on the comics, but did you do some strip work as well? I mean, I feel like I've seen something. They wouldn't let me.
No.
Why do I feel like?
Why would they? The work I did sucked.
Well, that's not true.
It's terrible.
No, I thought, but I don't know why. I'm gonna have to go back because I
thought
when I was looking at artwork,
it's in the early scriptural text of the secular religion. That's why. Star Wars is, as I said recently, I did expect there to be a secular religion to arise in the final quarter of the century, but I expected it to be based on Elvis as opposed to Star Wars. I'm serious. I'm not being
Really?
facetious.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. So you have a hard. Sometimes, Howard, I can't tell when you're.
I know. I know. It's for the first 5 years of my dating my wife, she was constantly apologizing to people for me because she knew I wasn't kidding. And I was saying these horrible things to people. They all thought I was fucking around, kidding. She finally realized that nobody was listening. They all thought, he's just kidding. No one can. Yeah, he really did.
He's serious.
Yeah. I mean, it comes with the deadpan, you know? I mean, there are only two people I know of right off the top of my head who can actually destroy me, breaking me up. One of them has been on this thread of comment. I won't name him. He's entitled to his privacy. Mm-hmm. And the other one is Thomas, who you've met, my editor, who is these two sons of bitches know every button to push, and they make shit come out of my nose, and not in a good way.
Wow, the visuals I'm getting today. First that Asner.
I do what I can. I'm a visual artist. You know, I really try to provide a full, rounded 360-degree experience. That's me.
Yeah, it is the Howard Chaykin experience today, everybody.
Not the real thing, but an amazing simulation like Beatlemania.
Yeah. All right. Well, the second and final Star Wars piece, and this one is Vader, of course. This is lot 13, lucky number 13, priced at $600. Same size as all the other ones we've shown so far. And of course, email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com if you'd like to pick up this Darth Vader. He's holding that lightsaber a little close to his helmet there, though. But
well, what he's doing is he's taking the edge off. He's just kind of like trying to bring down some of the burrs in the helmet, you know?
Sure. Well, that's one way to do it.
I'm here to help.
Who else would do it? No one would do it for him. He's got to do it himself. But lots of good. I like this one. I like I like, you know, it seems like with the Star Wars stuff, you know, I know on the Shadow, of course, you know, you've got the you know, his outfit filling the space with the blacks and everything. But on these Star Wars ones, you just kind of did some cool stuff here by filling out the blacks a little bit more too. I like that.
Have you seen the hot air balloon shaped like Darth Vader's helmet?
I have not. Seriously?
It's really fun. Yeah.
This one has sold. I told you it was a lucky 13.
Of course. I mean, again, wait a minute. If only you could see my face, you see the shock in my eyes.
Well, you took your glasses off. Oh, I didn't get you on the screen.
I wanted to show you the eyes in shock.
But no, there actually is a hot air balloon of Darth Vader's helmet.
Yeah.
I could maybe think like
their superpower. They have too much spare time. I think that's their superpower.
Does Lucas fly in it, or
I don't think Lucas is allowed to. He's on a no-fly list for everybody. Just like keep George off planes, you know. What?
Oh man! All right. Well, we're moving off the Star Wars stuff here. With the
now that doesn't sell.
Oh man! All right, let's see what
my feeling is hurt. You know, look. You know, I haven't got much time left. You know.
Oh, don't talk like that, Howard.
Okay.
All right. I'm showing lot 14 now with Flagg and Raul. $600 for this one. Same size as all the rest. And you know the email address, Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com if you'd like to pick this one up. So, you know, he's got a very smug. He looks very smug on this one, and Raul is doing the thing.
Look, I mean, I realized a long time ago that to a great extent, Flagg was my first, you know, character doppelganger, and my default is condescension, scorn, and spite. And to a certain extent, that's what the character did. You know, I mean, Flagg is a comic book equivalent of the character that James Garner played on Maverick. He's a wise guy who is at first an innocent and is then educated by experience and learns from experience. And I'm very proud of that. I mean, it's most comic book characters in the context of comics, the idea of change is usually applied by giving Spider-Man a new outfit or taking out or adding the circle around the bat signal on Batman's chest. Change is not really something that is comfortable with people. One of the reasons why comics are so weird right now is that you now have an entire business packed with characters created by boys for boys back in the 1940s who have been aged up to have actual real world problems. So the absurdity of a guy dressing up like Batman going out to fight crime is dealt with by him, you know, not going down on Catwoman. So it's just the issues that are raised by the imposition of adult material on this material is just really hysterical. I find it most amusing. But then again, I have a very low bar. I laugh a lot.
Hey, that's
So Flagg is a very smug guy, and his cat is also easily amused.
well, I look forward to, hopefully we'll able to go out for a drink and dinner sometimes, because I could just imagine the laughter that we would have. Our table would be like having the most fun of anybody at whatever restaurant we could wind
Oh no,
up.
I'm a buzzkill. I ruin everything by showing up. I suck the life out of a room by walking into it.
Well, we'll be very selective about who we invite to the table.
I agree.
Now, Nicole is texting to me, I think, but it hasn't been claimed yet, as far as I know. But one question I did want to ask you before we get to the cover recreations was why a cat? Why why not a diminutive hero or something like that to help us kind of lead their way through everything? Why a cat?
Raul is based on a cat I lived with at that time called Cochise, who was a savvy, good animal who escaped the house during an earthquake in '86 and came back a transformed beast. But back in the early '80s, the cat was a big part of my life, and I thought the idea was kind of fun. I had a good time with it. Cats also are always perceived as being smarter than they are. They're actually just stupid. Dogs are smart enough to recognize that there is a food chain. Cats are too dumb to know any better. But I wanted to do a smart cat, and I subscribe and always have to the Jack Cole theme that he had on Plastic Man back in Quality in the '40s. Thrills, chills, and laughs. I really like that. The idea of that there should be comedy, there should be drama, there should be pathos, there should be sex, there should be melodrama, everything. It's a big stew. It's one of the reasons why. I mean, I watch a lot of television. I do not watch a lot of superhero television because most of that material is just cornball junk. Whereas I really love Banshee. I thought Banshee was a great transliteration of what comic books should be into a television show. And that's the deal. So, thrills, chills, and laughs.
Thrills. I'm gonna write that. That's a good one. That could be the tagline for our show: Thrills, chills, and laughs.
It worked for Jack Cole, and he's dead. He can't sue us.
There you go. So yeah, we'll get onto the next two pieces in a second. But Nick says I should go to Baltimore Comic-Con, and maybe if Howard would have him, we could all go to dinner.
Nick only gets to eat dinner with me if he sits at a different table. Just kidding.
All right, well, we'll see, Nick. I have actually never been to Baltimore, and I've always wanted to go to that show. Yeah,
it's a great town.
It is.
It's a great town. The show is dynamite. It's It's the last remaining collegial show. The other one used to be when WonderCon was up in Northern California in the Bay Area. That was a very collegial show. Baltimore, you have breakfast in the morning at Baltimore, and there's 300 guys there. Everybody's there. And I mean, I'm already booked, like I say, to do the guilt and shame thing with JR. And I'm assuming I'll see Walter and Wheezy and Howard Mackey and a bunch of other people there. Richard Pace, usual gang of suspects. So yes, Philip, the wire was set in Baltimore. There you go.
All right. Well, let's take a look at these last two pieces because these are the more expensive ones, and they are both.
Yeah, you're not buying the other ones. These are going to lay there like death. So just, I'm predisposed to personal pain right now. Okay.
Yeah. I can see it on your face.
I'm hurting.
But both of these are done on 11 by 17, just so everybody knows.
They're huge.
Yes, they are.
They are vast. They contain multitudes.
All right, so let's go ahead and show the first one. Now, the first one is a cover recreation from American Flagg. This is from issue 3, but I think it was used even in a trade paperback or some kind of a few other.
I did a painted version.
I did a painted version. All right. So again, this is lot 15. We're selling this one for $2,500. It is on 11 by 17 board, and it is the recreation to issue 3 of American Flagg. Very memorable one indeed. And of course, you want to pick this one up, you just email Nicole at thirdeyecomics.com. So Howard, I mean, when you were thinking about which cover you wanted to recreate from American Flagg, what drew you to this one? And this one is sold,
Uh,
by the way. Wow,
well,
that's
what's that? What's that?
this one is sold, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
God, you fucking people, you're crazy. I'm sorry. What the reason I opted for this one was it contains all of the elements of the book. It's got the vid screen, it's got Flagg, it's got Raoul, and it's got Mandy. And I think it encapsulates everything of the book. It really does. It catches the whole tone of the material. Mandy was based on my third wife. That's
Which
all.
number are you on right now? I'm
married to my fourth wife.
Okay. For some
Don't
reason,
don't be so judgmental. I don't like that tone.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry. I for some reason I thought you were on 3. I don't know. We've never talked, about our significant others or anything like that, Howard.
Well, I mean, we've been together for 30 years, so I'm not going anywhere, But I married early and often, so like Democrats voting in Chicago, and so I got around, but again, I was absolutely adorable back then, not like now. I had all of this charm, all of this personality, but fuckable. It was fantastic.
Well, you got around when you were in New York.
I
right?
did
Back in the day. Well, that was well, clearly that
I was very convincing. You know what I'm saying? Convincing.
You had a good story or something. I mean,
I did.
Wow.
So right now, fourth wife, 1 dead, 2 left besides the one that I'm married to now. So we can only hope.
All right.
I'm not praying. I'm okay. It's all right.
Well, somebody got a good.
Only one of them ever actually hates me, and I'm sure that she's looking forward to the obit.
She probably checks it every Sunday afternoon.
Just, is he gone yet? Is he gone? Well, the New York Times. I'm going to make Wednesday, not Sunday. In the New York Times. I'll make Wednesday.
Okay.
Maybe even Thursday, just to throw them away because nobody reads it on Thursday.
So do you still read the paper? You go out.
I read the hard copy on Sunday, but I read it online every day. I've been a subscriber since Hector was a pup, and since before you were allowed to even think about anything. There you go.
I was born in '68, but yeah.
In '68, I was already a father. I wasn't married, but I was a dad.
Yeah.
I have a daughter who will be 52 in November. Like I said, I got around.
You did. I don't know how you had any time to make art, but
in those days I was very distracted by sex and drugs.
Well, those were the days.
Yeah.
All right.
They still are for some people, but not for me.
Well, and Henry did say 4th time's a charm. I'm sure you've
said
that a few times.
I'll let her know that you believe that. It's good.
All right. Well, here we're going to show the last one now. Last lot, and of course, then we'll recap the pieces, the few pieces that didn't sell, Howard. But this is lot 16. This was the cover recreation to Detective Comics 27. Lot 16 is priced at $2,700. I guess tying that to the issue number, I believe, and it's on 11 by 17. And you got to.
I had such a great time doing this. I did the rare improvement on the artwork. I adjusted the costume a bit, and made the rope and the tying around more logical in terms of the way it related to the body. But I had a great time doing this. I really did. I mean, I was an absolutely obsessive Batman fan as a little boy, and it was just a gas to do this. I really had a good time. So,
because of your affection for Batman, I mean, that was what made you pick.
Well, I mean, I remember very specifically Batman when the Batman television. I mean, I saw the Batman movie serial when I was a kid, but before that, when I was in high school, actually not after that, when the TV show premiered, I was a junior in high school, and I remember waiting for it to come up, and the commercials just looked absolutely bitchin'. And then when the show aired, we were like, "Oh my God, it's a comedy! How have they done this to me?" My feelings were so hurt, even then I had more feelings than I had now. And I really resented it terribly. But of course, now as an adult, I recognize it was the only real way to do it, to sell it to a mass market audience. And anyone who thinks that the Tim Burton pictures aren't directly related to those movies is missing the point. There's an innate goofiness to this stuff, you know. And I love the fact that Joel Schumacher came along and did all that weird shit with the with Batman and his nipples. Just hysterical. I love this stuff, you know. So that's it. I lost you, Bill. You just muted yourself.
I did mute myself. I'm sorry. I had a cough and I didn't turn my.
Oh, okay. On. I would like to have heard it. One step closer to TB, right? You know.
Right, exactly. Well, if we get to have dinner together, I'll make sure you can hear that. Okay. But lot 16 is still available. But I will let everybody know that lot 14, the Flagg piece, did sell. Remind everybody of that one. I'll even show it just to remind you because it was so awesome. Oh, and wait a minute. Lot 16 has just sold as well. So,
fabulous!
Look at that.
I'm delighted to hear it. So, the rest of you bastards got to work a little harder on what's left. Let's get with it. Come on, don't embarrass Bill. Don't hurt my feeling.
Oh,
Bill embarrasses very easy. Look,
well, no, actually,
look at that. He's already embarrassed.
You know what? The thing is, you know, Howard, when we, you talk about like, we talked before the show, right? And you're like, who wants to buy my stuff? And I say it's the guys and gals who can't get out to the shows. But part of all of what we do here when we do these sales shows is I think it's just the opportunity to hear the creator. It's like that's what we like going to shows for. Like we like to buy the art from somebody and getting a good story. I mean we're here for all of that. I would have to assume some of this stuff seeps its way into Hey Kids Comics, right? Because it's we love the medium, but we love the personalities as art collectors. I mean I like buying stuff from people I can talk to as well. I mean, you don't if you're just buying comics and you never really get to know the creators at all, you're really not getting the whole story. And I think we as art collectors have that advantage. And I think it's part of how we
I
want to buy.
I never went to a convention until I was a professional. Because the conventions look so weird and fucked up. They were always over the 4th of July weekend. There was always some guy who was stuck working at ABC News in New York, whose stand up in the middle of the convention was, "Can you believe people buy this shit?" That kind of stuff. And it just looked kind of weird and creepy. The two regrets I have is that I didn't do that, and I didn't get to see Jerry Lewis at the telethon when he was still in New York on acid. I would love to have done that. That would have been a real high point for me. But so I never had the experience of being a fan at a convention. That was something I was denied. I met Gil Kane when I was 13 at a used bookstore, and I was, I felt like I was in the presence of giants, and that persisted as I got older. Mm-hmm. When I went to work for Gil, he introduced me to everybody from Gray Morrow to Russ Heath and a bunch of other people. And then, of course, I met all the guys of my generation at the first Fridays that took place originally at Japs. So the personalizing with the work is a real important point. I think you're right. It really is.
I mean, I think it's. I always look at people who just collect comics, and of course, as art collectors, there's only a finite number of us out there, and then there's this whole world of people collecting comics that don't ever get to appreciate the creators like we do. I mean, sure, they go to cons and they sit in giant panels and that sort of thing. But it's different, I think. I mean, when we're buying art, we actually are, buying it from the creator, and we get to have that in many cases that experience with them, and that's important. It really is. I mean,
I've only bought one piece of my collection from a living artist.
Yeah,
and he really resented it enormously. That's not true. I have artwork on my wall by people who are still alive, but I don't collect comic art. I collect American illustration. And I have a piece by an artist named Gary Kelly, who is an astonishing illustrator, just a great narrative artist and advertising artist. And he briefly had a gallery in Soho in New York, along with Nancy Stahl and Etienne Delasere and a fourth person, I never remember which. And he had this piece that had won the Silver Medal Award in the illustration house in Society of Illustrators, and he priced it. I forget exactly. It was like $4,500, and I paid it immediately, no haggling. And he was stunned and really annoyed because he thought he put enough money on top of it that no one would buy this piece. He didn't want it, and it was fantastic. It really was. I mean, and I'm looking. There it is now. You know, right there.
Well, we can't see it.
You know. Mm-hmm.
But hey, before we go any further, I did want everybody to know the buyer of lot 10 preferred lot 11 after they saw it. So since nobody picked up the other one, I have let Nicole that it's okay for the buyer of lot 10 to switch to lot 11. So lot 10 is the one that is still available. See, we can be flexible here. What's that? Oh, they preferred the 1-gun shadow versus 2-gun shadow.
So they didn't listen to your bullshit. They acted on their own recourse.
They did. Hey, I mean, they were both good.
But you had to find something shitty to say about me because to make my Saturday less special.
I'm just trying to
thanks, Bill.
I'm trying to carry the conversation and make.
I'm kind of weak.
Well, hey, let's recap for everybody which pieces didn't sell so that they know which pieces are still available here. So what do we got? We got lot number 3 was still available. I mean, I better double check, make sure I didn't miss anything.
Come on, Mr. Science. Let's see what you can do.
All right, here we go. Lot number 3 was the blonde 2 on everyone. That's not blonde 1. So blonde 2 is still available. Lot 3, she was $550 and on 8.5 by 14. You know the email if you want to email Nicole to pick up this lot. And hey, she's a beauty. She's like a classic American Flagg character in one fashion or another. Let's see. Lot 3 was available. Lot 5 was still available as well. That was the Batman image. This one was $550 and same size, 8.5 by 14. You know Nicole's email address. Then see. So after lot 5, what do we got here? Lot 8, Superman. So no love for Batman or Superman. I don't get that, but lot 8 is still available as well, and it is $550. And what do we got? I think we have a couple more here. We have the Wolverine, lot 9, $550 as well on 8.5 by 14. And then because of the switcheroo that the shadow buyer did, lot 10 is the final piece that is still out there at $600. Shadow 1 on 8.5 by 14 as well. So there you go. That is our full recap. What do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 pieces out of 16 have not sold. So it wasn't a clean sweep so far this time around, Howard. But
and I have to say that I'm very disappointed in all of you. I feel that you have let me down. You have demonstrated the fact that the concern and care you have for an old man is wispy and ephemeral and transient.
Oh. Yeah, that's
sad. Pretty good. You like it? I mean,
I did. I almost
it comes with its own shovel, you know.
Well, I'll tell what I should tell everybody though is that everybody should be aware that the art is with Third Eye Comics, and they ship the art out after it's purchased, of course, but the pieces that don't get sold do get sent back to Howard. So they'll have those pieces probably until about Tuesday. So anybody that's watching this show afterwards, and I know that there's going to be a lot of viewers that are going to see the show after the fact. You know what lot numbers didn't sell, everybody. So if you would like to claim any of the lots that haven't been sold, even if you watch the show live and you're thinking about it later, you can still email Nicole at Third Eye Comics and let her know that you'd like to pick it up, and she'll let you know if it's still available. See right there, Nicole at Third.
And you don't want to hurt her feelings because she's really vengeful.
She had to sit here with us for 2 hours, even though she wasn't
blood in her eye. She takes no prisoners. Unlike me, who's a really sweet old guy who desperately needs her attention. Yeah. And Bill, who thinks I'm uncanny.
And I really need a lot of attention. Oh man. Well, Howard, as always,
I had a great time. I hope you have as well.
I'm telling you, we could do a regular thing, but like we just so everybody really does know that we are going to work on something with the paradigm. I can't really tell you how we're going to work it out because we still have some details to iron out.
The form, what we went into the paradigms 1, 2, and 3 will remain the same. The delivery system, the venue, the form will adjust somewhat, I suspect, but we will have something without fail. It's going to happen.
It is going to happen. And I guarantee you, even if we don't have art to sell, Howard will be on the show with me, sometime in the near future because we have too much fun together. But there probably would be art to sell too. But hey,
despite the fact that Bill hates me, I always have a good time showing up, And Nicole heard me say that she has blood in her eyes, so she's obviously pleased.
Right. Well, at least she commented. She's like, "This was awesome. Thanks as always. Thank you, Nicole, for
Thanks,
sitting here with us."
Nicole. Nicole, thanks so much for like, being like a grown up in the room, because I can't depend on Bill and I'm a fucking waste of time. So there you go.
There you go.
Yeah,
Well,
I see. He's glad Howard is coming out of his shell, because I'm so desperately shy. It's really sad. It really is. I'm very shy. All right. Hey, Bill,
all right.
thanks so much.
Yeah, Howard, thank you. And thank you everybody for tuning in live. And again, Howard, I could do this with you weekly, but I know you have a busy schedule, but we'll do this again soon.
I think that's a great idea. And I want all of you to remember to set an example out there, because I have absolutely no intention of doing anything even vaguely like that. So that's the deal. All right.
All
Set
right.
an example, guys. Later.